Selamat siang, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen from around the globe. Welcome, Gusti Kanjeng Ratu Hemas, Bapak Rahadi RAMELAN.
Selamat siang, good afternoon.
Nguyen Daktang, Edric Ong, Bu Ida Surya. Selamat siang. Good afternoon, everybody. I saw there are still many people come down to this Zoom meeting. Welcome to the first International e-Public Forum as a part of the 2021 International Online Summer Course on Jogja World Batik City, with focus on this year's balancing creative economy and heritage Saujana conservations to foster sustainable development goals, or SDGs. This program already opened officially by Universitas Gadjah Mada last April 9th, and it will be running until June 13th, 2021. And in this case, the closing ceremony will be a fashion show from Yogyakarta. So you are all welcome to attend this summer course, international online summer course. These activities organized by my Center for Heritage Conservation, Department of Architecture and Planning, Faculty of Engineering, Universitas Gadjah Mada, supported by Office of International Affairs, Universitas Gadjah Mada, and we have a lot of collaborations with our colleagues from Kyoto University, TU Wien, Austria, SEACHA, with the President, Mr. Nguyen will be our panelist, then Indonesian Heritage Trust, and Institute of Indonesian Architects, Yogyakarta Special Regions, Indonesian Society of Landscape Architects from the Yogyakarta Special Regions, and also the Sekar Jagat, the Indonesian Batik enthusiasts. In October 18, 2014, in Donyang City, Zhejiang Province in China, the World Craft Council designated Yogyakarta as the Batik City of the World. The world network of craft city is built by the World Craft Council based on creative economy and answers to the growing concerns of local governments, craftsmen, and communities in cultural, social, and economic development. This first international e-public forum is as part of the international online summer course on Jogja World Batik City. It focuses on creating cooperation and partnership among the world craft cities and culture creative industries in Asia, as well as Pacific, that will be represented by His Excellency Tantowi Yahya, our ambassador in New Zealand, and also Roving ambassador in Pacific, as well as worldwide institutions. And in response to the current conditions of COVID-19 pandemic. Our final goals on the summer course is to promote the balancing creative economy and as heritage Saujana conservation strategies to foster sustainable development goals, focusing on Jogja Batik City. This international online summer course also celebrates World Heritage Day 2021 that will held in the 18th of April with the theme this year is Complex Past, Diverse Futures. The World Heritage Day calls conservation activists all over the world to reflect, rethink, and re-examine existing narratives and strive for conservation beyond what is visible. Conservation efforts that synergize between culture, nature, and its landscape. This event is especially dedicated to our loving patrons, Ibu Dr. Gada Hijawi Kadumi, past President of World Craft Council Asia Pacific and President of World Craft Council International, who passed away April 1st, 2021. Ibu Dr. Gada deeply cared for the world's community of artisans, craftspersons, and its environments, including Jogja World Batik City. I was sent her email to invite her to be the panelist in these forums. But at that moment, she was in the hospital. Let's our tribute to Dr. Gada Hijawi Kadumi with our video. Rest in peace, Dr. Gada. And now our prayer will be led by Insinyur Gatot Saptadi, Chairman of Organizing Committee, Jogja International Batik Biennale 2021, Yogyakarta. Please, Mas Gatot.
You're all, please let's pray together. We join today in mourning over the void caused by our good friend, Dr. Gada Hijawi Kadumi. She left us suddenly. She loved us dearly, and we know that. Let's find comfort in this, my condolences. Most sincere condolences to you, loved ones and family. I believe her guardian angel will watch over us too. May her soul rest in peace. We can't explain how much we had really missed her. She was a great inspiration to the whole world through her inspiring leadership at Wordcraft Council. We know she had given us a role model of a strong woman who were full of fight, courage, and strength. We wish her farewell in her journey to eternity. She had never been forgotten for us. Her spirit remains in our hearts. I pray that God will comfort herself, watch and guide her. Our deepest condolences. May her soul rest in peace, and may God grant her family the strength to endure this great pain. We will always remember her kindness. Let me also express my sincerest sympathy to all of us. We know how difficult this time must be. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Our shared condolences. A good soul has passed on. A good lady has gone up to heaven. With a heavy heart, we part our beloved sister. We are sober. We are really sad about a sudden departure. May the Creator accept our prayer on his behalf. Amin.
Terima kasih, Mas Gatot. Thank you very much. And now we are very honored that Her Majesty Queen Hemas of Yogyakarta, Chairwoman, Regional Craft Council, Jogja, World Batik City, Yogyakarta, and also a member of the House of Regional Representative of the Republic of Indonesia from Yogyakarta's special regions, to give opening remarks. Ibu Kanjeng Ratu Hemas, sumonggo.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ibu Laretna Adisakti, for this wonderful event and for having me as a speaker. Dear colleagues and honorable speakers, His Excellency Tantowi Yahya, Professor RAMELAN, Mr. Tang, Mr. Ong, and Madam Mahayastra, this distinguished guests, senior fellow, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, selamat siang, salam sejahtera, salam rahayu. It is an honor to speak in front of you, the community of World Heritage and Crafting, the Batik enthusiasts, and the conserver of culture, tradition all over the world. Although I cannot see you in person, this kind of communication through the internet yet can bring the feeling of together, for we have the same spirit on culture and crafting. I would start this speech by asking everyone of us to imagine if all of the people in the world are dressing in the same color of fabric, only black and white, or green and yellow, or dark brown and beige gray. No patterns, no lines, no curves, no hexagonal shapes, no bending arch, and nothing. Just plain shaded color with no meaning. Imagine that there would be no chatting between friends, no greeting, no cheering, and everything running by the order of a system of some powerful masculine elite. It would be very different if we see the world in images in an exotic way. a picture of life that full of moving lines, colorful image, natural, and the spirit of beauty. People's life will be careful. We will be cheerful, enthusiastic, and delighted, just as everyone in this virtual meeting. I see the eyes that's shining bright and the smile that remind me of childhood existence and spirit of innocence. Distinguished, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in Indonesia, the idea of nature, peacefulness, and spirit could come as batik. The natural patterns, the usually painted in fabric and applied as daily attire. Nevertheless, some of the batik are used only for traditional occasions. Jogja has many patterns of batik, such as Wahyu Temurun, which actually means inherited revelation that used in a traditional occasion of bridegroom meeting. The geometric pattern of batik kawung represents the heroic and justice, the brought by the king or noble. While batik knitting applies leaf, stem, and flower shapes to put blue color among white and brown. Jogja has many more style of batik that each one has its own philosophy. Jogja is a special region that preserves its traditions. The special region that full of education, histories, cultures, craft, and tourism. I participate myself on preserving this culture. However, it is not about the patient and as queen concerned or as a member of Indonesian Senate that put me into this activity. It is about empowerment of people, empowerment of women, and also empowerment of small and medium enterprises. It is how we encourage the people of Jogja to explore the cultural tradition and spirit in craftsmanship and also aesthetic, aesthetical touch. It is actually preserved in the mind and heart of people. And I am actually also one of them. In this beautiful occasion, I also want to promote the cooperation among all culture over the world. I see Mr. Ong and Mr. Tang from our fellow Asian countries and Madam Mahayastra,
Yes.
who encourage Balinese to stand up straight and proud to overcome the negative impact of pandemic. There are also many fellows from other countries that join this virtual seminar. We are surely need cooperation to save this cultural legacy. Each country and each city have their own specialty. Each one has a specific characteristic and can be appreciated by other people. Malaysian and Vietnamese may come to Indonesia and to Jogja to start an art exhibition, as well as Indonesian can see the beautiful art and crafting from Malaysia and Vietnam. Allows us the sweep the difference aside. Let us put technical difficulties as the tail business, bring ourselves to the meeting round table so we can discuss more detail about cooperating event and good business relation. I encourage people of Jogja and those of Indonesia to start cooperation as soon as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we have a lot of time to discuss about crafting and batik. We a lot of time to establish good collaboration in this business. I'm not really sure when will this pandemic end and when will all the participants in this virtual from can see Jogja in person. But I can assure you that if you come to Jogja in the near future, we will welcome you, as the people of Jogja always open their heart warmly to everyone who love culture, art, tradition, crafting, tourism, and of course, batik. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I should not extend my speech more, as there are so many experts in this room that can enrich our knowledge. I hope I can see you in Jogja before long. Have a nice discussion. Thank you.
Matur nuwun sangat. Terima kasih Ibu Gusti Kanjeng Ratu Hemas for your support. It's very important that each city, each country have our own characteristic, but we have to have a collaboration among us. Let's do it. Let's discuss and today. But before we go to the panelists, let's take a picture together. Please open your Nyun Sewu, potret bersama. Let's open all your video, and my colleagues will, there are some still close the video. Please open yours. Silakan dibuka. Ya, silakan foto. Satu. Kemudian yang kedua. Dan ketiga. Yes. Terima kasih. Matur nuwun sekali lagi Gusti Kanjeng Ratu Hemas for your impressive opening remarks that will then support our movement in these regions as well as worldwide. Now for the first panelist, I would like to invite Bapak Rahadi RAMELAN. He is the Trade Ministers of Indonesia in 2010. 19, yes. Okay, it's time is yours now. Silakan Pak Rahadi.
So good afternoon, everybody. I have to say hello to Basinta, and I have my friend over there, Mr. Edric, and also I just introduced to Mr. Tang from Vietnam. Of course, today, as we want to speak about the world craft cities and world cultural, the first one. If I see these topics, there will be two issues that we have to see and discuss. The first is the entities and the organization of the craft involved in the whole world or in each country. And the second is how to cooperate and to connect them in a web environment system. I call it as a web environment because so complex and so many entities involved. The second, please. Within country itself or nation, there is a lot of organization, a lot of agency, because the craft is considered to be a small-scale industry, cottage industry, also tradition and culture. That's why so many ministry or department level is involved on this activity. For instance, in Indonesia, for instance, the Ministry of Industry is involved in that, cooperative industry, culture department or ministry, and also a new part of the Ministry of Tourism is creative economy. And of course, also there is involvement of the Ministry of Law and Justice, because we are considering about the protection. And at the end, of course, organization, I think now is today represented by Bu Ayu from Dekranasda Gianyar, is the Dekranas itself, how they're involved to the whole system. And but the cooperation between or among the countries, it could be bilateral, but could be also regional, like the EU, ASEAN, and the others. And you can see also that the cooperation is very global. The global, I will touch a little bit about the program of the sister city and twin town, the WCC and UNESCO, especially on the culture and heritage. Please, the next. Each country, they have their own laws and regulation. It's very different. And also the law is different between the national level, state level and province, local level, and also district or city. So there are too many, lot of regulation is really try to get their hand to the craft. And besides that, they have different community on the culture and tradition. Normally, the society is not homogeneous. It's a very, especially big cities. It's different of people coming from different area with own culture and own tradition. So really, the culture and the tradition is very diversified, even in every city. The next, please. As I mentioned to you that I want really to touch about the sister city and twin town. The sister city and twin town is really already very long exists. But after the Second World War, it is really being pushed by everybody. After the Second World War, you know the problem, the different problem of country because of the ideology and because of the system. But their program, aim is really promoting culture and economics cooperation, fostering the friendship, diplomacy, and tourism. Even they have the World City Summit. I think they started in 1904 or something like that. That's why the number is so very big. And by now it's over 280 cities they're gathering in this program. I just want to touch on that here. For instance, Jakarta is sister city of Shanghai, Berlin, Los Angeles, Sydney, and Cairo. It is all the big cities. It's very different, diversified tradition and culture within the city itself. Yogyakarta is what is a sister city, or they call it also the twin town of Kyoto, and Gangbu-ku in Korea, California, and Cambridge. I touched a little bit of very small cities, but very interesting. It's Český Krumlov. It is a very small and city in Česká Republic, cooperating with San Gimignano in Italy. It is also a very small city, but very dense with the culture and tradition. And Prague, I was in Prague, so they have a cooperation, a sister city with Hamburg. Florence with Dresden. You can imagine that Dresden was really fully destroyed to the ground during World War II, being rebuilt just like a Dresden a long time ago. Of course, very interesting, because the same situation of the country is Venice in Italy, Suzhou in China, and St. Petersburg in Russia. It is all three with canals, so the tourism very developed because of the canal, the existing of canals. And I had also there is among cities in one country cooperating each other, but I didn't get any information yet. So there is the situation of the development of sister city or twin city they call in Europe more. They are developing very fast in this moment, and it seems to be they are more established than the others. The next piece. It is slide number 5. Okay. Oh, can you back to the slide number 4, please? Yes. I just want to tell or to the small city compact with rich tradition, as I mentioned to you. It is like the Florence and Dresden, Prague and Hamburg, Český Krumlov and San Gimignano. But in total, European Union, they have they call the Donslager. It's association of the twinning town or sister city. But the member already from one city can have only one member. You can imagine Cairo has 19 sister cities, Alexandria 17, and Fez in Morocco, they have more sister cities than Casablanca or Marrakesh. Tangier, they have 12 sister cities. I think the top is Shanghai, they have more than 65 sister cities, and Beijing 47. Now is the next slide, please. So we are touching now because also Edric on from the World Cup cities, and I was in Dongyang in 2014. But the process of the World Cup cities appointment is submitted by the city. So the city has a very strong role. Assessment by the designated team or jury of WCC, and decision always by WCC board in yearly meeting or annual meeting. But again, the name is World Craft. The important and the focus of this organization is on they're different. For instance, I saw the craft city. It is various craft, including Jaipur, Isfahan of Iran, Tripoli of Tunisia, of Lebanon, Bornholm, Gianyar just lately in 2019, Hebron, Larifur, Kuching, and Mysore. And there is also a city very specific, maybe cannot be doubled by other city. For instance, Yogyakarta Batik. I can imagine there will be no other city on Batik. Or Donihue, it is in Chile. It is a Chamanto. Maybe Chamanto is done only in the South, South America. And Rari also in Chile, horsehair work. It is really for me is something very special but maybe will not be another city could be nominated or could be decision by the WCC as the Yogyakarta Batik or Samanto or also Horselver. But of course, there is some craft that is very wide, like wood carving. The wood carving is Dongyang itself. It is during 2014, Liquining and Kokan. Maybe it could be added by the other city from different side of the world because it is very open and wide definition. Also, the other craft is porcelain, pottery, handmade pottery, killing especially weaving technology or technique in Turkey and also in Iran, carpet weaving. It could be really a lot of space that some city can can join this this kind of craft. So I think I would like to have the slide number 6, please. Here I give you, I make a copy of this map. It is the map of craft city. You can imagine that the focus of the craft city, thank God also to the late Dr. Gada, mainly in the Asia Pacific region, the blue one. It is really the heavy of the world craft city. And then you have only some in the South America, as I mentioned to you on the Chile, there are 2 or 3, and then some also in the northern Europe. So you can imagine that if we are on the WCC, there is a lot of part in the globe that should be really focused on it, like maybe Africa, or in the middle of Russia, or the North America, or even Australia. So the slide, it is the slide number. The total, maybe, the total of, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, Edric, if I'm wrong, please, that the total of craft city within WCC is about 48 or maybe more. But 40 of it is on the Asia Pacific region. So this is what I got the number. I don't know whether it's right from the internet. The slide, the next slide, please. Now is the UNESCO. They have their own creative city network. It is started already much longer than the earlier than the craft city of WCC. The creative scope is much larger. They are promoting placing creativity and cultural industry in the development plans. They just want to put the creative industry on the real total economy, recognizing the creative a strategic factor of sustainable development. Promote cooperation with and among creative cities. Craft and for the creative city, according to the UNESCO, there is craft and folk arts, design, film, gastronomy, literature, media arts, and music. Then I think 7 or 6 category. The next slide, please. Let's say I would like just to give you some view about the existence of the creative city. In the music, you have the Seville, Pesaro, Rivelpur, Ambon. It is part of Indonesia and Maluku, Havana. About 47 music cities. Gastronomy, Macau, Hatay, Alba, Phuket. Phuket is very important. It's about 36. Design is Buenos Aires, Bilbao, Graz. Graz is in Austria. And also Bandung. It's already nominated as a design. Design city. Literature, Baghdad, Barcelona, Edinburgh, and Prague, about 39. Here about the craft and folk arts. I put the Jaipur with the red color because you see also Jaipur on the WCC craft city with the various craft. And then in Indonesia, you have Pekalongan, about not totally the craft and folk arts is 49 cities. It's media arts is not too much, only 14. Film, of course, Mumbai, no, is very interesting for the film, and about 18 cities. So it is just the how you see the picture of how the creative city is really moving very fast. The next, please. It will be, and it is the map of the creative city network. Full the whole world. And then especially in the Europe. Maybe okay, in the Asia Pacific region, almost similar with what we have the craft city. America, the South and Northern, is also very full. So there is a craft and folk arts, the design, film, gastronomy, literature, media arts, and music. So it is just a picture how a very diversified country is on this, the UNESCO Craft City Network. It's very interesting because we want to discuss about how this program, especially on several areas like craft and design, could be really cooperate with the WCC Craft Cities program. The next, maybe I don't have too much more. It is the last one, I think. So, if I see the last one, how we can cooperate and connect it. WCC Craft City Network, and especially with the UNESCO Creative City, could be it complementary. I saw you already, the Jaipur is on the both side, the Jaipur, and also another city. But I didn't really take too much time to see another city, only for me Jaipur, because it is very interesting. And it's also to foster interaction between craft and creative industry. In this moment, the creative industry is really considered as a leading role to increase the economy, because the basic is so very broad, different. I would also urge to consider the program of Sister City in Twin Town to be incorporated if we talk about the cooperation and connection, because they started early, and there's some of the program on the Sister City or the city itself could be complemented whether to the WC Craft City or also to the UNESCO Creative Cities. Even very, very seldom we touched it, but I would like really to urge everybody, maybe Edric and the others. And the second, don't forget, because if we try to talk about the craft and culture, sometimes they need also protection. Who keeps the protection on the world? This is WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization. Until today, maybe more than, I forgot how many years, but only 21st meeting, they cannot agree on a certain program, what they call GRTKF, Intergovernmental Committee, Genetic Resources, Tradition, Knowledge, and Folklore. And maybe if we, the scholar or from WCC or from, we have to push them a little bit to work faster. They can agree, especially for us, is what is the folklore, traditional knowledge. Okay, maybe later, but the folklore itself could be part of their discussion. And the last one is the geographic indication, especially for craft. Maybe Ibu Sita is very, I talk always about the geographic indication everywhere, because it is started more with the food or with the fruit or any kind, gastronomy in Western Europe. And then come to Indonesia, the idea coming also in Malaysia, about the GI. Indonesia, a lot of fruit, a lot of coffee, tea. It is on the geographic indication. But the problem is on the batik, on the craft, is very slow. I don't know whether the regulation, how to propose GI is very complicated. But again, the geographic indication is part of the, if you talk about the craft, in Indonesia on the, what is weaving, it's a lot. Batik is on Jogja. You have the special batik knitting from Jogja is already approved. It's a GI, and also different other things. Yeah. So that's all three components, according to me, that could be really pushed to the cooperation and connection. This is WCC Craft City Network with UNESCO Creative City foster interaction, and considering also the sister city and twin towns, which is very big. And I would like also some of us to push a little bit WIBO. They have to finalize this committee, because already more than 21st or 21st meeting every year. But until today, they cannot make any decision. I know the problem. The problem is the folklore. They cannot make a definition very clear about the folklore. And of course, the new things is the geographic indication, especially on the craft. I think Edric, I speak with Edric several times about this time, according also with Batik, GI Batik. So, Bushita and gentlemen, my colleague speaker, and also the participants, I see already more than 70 participants around the world. This is my really presentation. I hope I don't talk too long. I hope I can give you some hints on the several area that interesting for us.
Berpikir kreatif, inovatif, maka dibuatlah tadi video-video virtual yang dimana
sorry.
So thank you very much, and I hope we will enjoy the discussion later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Rahadi RAMELAN. You point that cooperations already done a lot of places, a lot of cities, and you remind us with 4 things: WCC Craft City Network and UNESCO Creative Cities, and then sister city or twin town that they have made huge programs on this, and then WIPO, the 3rd Intergovernment Committee Genetic Resources, that needs also for the folklore. Yeah, they have already traditional knowledge and folklore. And the last one is geographic indications, that in Indonesia, we still only have one. This is hard work with the Paguyuban. This is associations of Batik Niti Yogyakarta, written batik, batik tulis from Yogyakarta. I think with us is the students and professionals who are full participants of the summer course. Maybe this will be then giving wider issues that batik can be anywhere on those cooperations. Terima kasih, Pak Profesor Rahadi RAMELAN. And then next, I would like to invite Mr. Nguyen Tang, the chairman of the Southeast Asia Cultural Heritage Alliance, or SEACHA. He based in Vietnam. Your time, please, Mr. Tang.
Thank you, Dr. Ladeta. And thank you, Dr. RAMELAN, for a really interesting presentation. So, on behalf of the chairpersons, directors of the Southeast Asian Cultural Heritage Alliance, I would like to express our thankfulness to your invitation. And I'm glad that today we have a lot of many interested colleagues. I can see in the list of participants many of our acquaintances and colleagues, and I really do would like to congratulate the organizers for this successful series of lectures and the public talks. So on my talk today, I would like to be brief. I would like to give a brief introduction of our organization. So, and second, I would like to present our initiative on how to support the transmission of handicraft in the region. So it's a really new and newly established and still need a lot of discussion and brainstorming and development. So I would like to bring them up, the ideas today to join you with the discussion. About our organization, the Southeast Asian Cultural Heritage Alliance. Thanks to initiative by our colleagues from the Siam Society under the patronage of a royal, under the royal in Thailand, we have established the alliance for nearly 2 years now. The first meeting was in 2019, and our organization has been in operation for almost 2 years now. Please, for the next slide, please. So who we are? We are established as a non-profit and digital-based network of Southeast Asian civil society organizations or non-government organization. We are dedicated to active engagement in spreading of cultural heritage across the Southeast Asian region. Currently, there are 7 founding members, the organizations across the region. The first organization is the Indonesian Heritage Trust, which is the host today for today's event. And the second is the Penang Heritage Trust, the Yangon Heritage Trust from Myanmar, Heritage Conservation Society of the Philippines, the Singapore Heritage Society, Siam Society under royal patronage, and my center, the Center for Research and Promotion of Cultural Heritage from Vietnam. So the 7 members met 2 years ago. We set up all the procedures of working and brainstorming and also developing the concepts of different programs. We have 7 representative members from the 7 organizations. Next, please. Yeah, so these are the 7 members. Next, please. Here you can see 7 faces who are the directors of the individual organizations specialized in various fields in cultural heritage. We are expertise organizations in intangible heritage, in monuments, in preservation architecture, in handicrafts. And at this point, we are now 7 members. We have advisors and collaborators from various institutions like the University of National Singapore and from Siam Society. And also we have international advisors. Next, please. So from 2020, we are waiting for the acceptance and participation for more organizations from other countries. Especially, we have been contacting Mulberries, an organization specialized in handicraft in the Laos, the People's Democratic Republic, and the discussion went too well, and we are now ready to welcome them to join us in the year 2020. And we still have waiting for members to come and to join us in the 2 countries, Brunei and Kingdoms of Cambodia. So the first country to join is to be the founding members. And of course, we are willing to invite other ASEAN civil society organizations or any NGOs willing to take part in as a member of SEACHA. And in this year, we are in accordance with the ASEAN's regulation to be fully registered as one of the ASEAN's entity under the patronage or auspices of the ASEAN. We need to, after 2 years of operation, we need to be legally registered. So this case, we are registered in Thailand as the based organization. Next, please. So our objectives, we have a vision, we have objectives. The first is we as the NGO with as the digital-based network of different organizations in the region. We aim to promote effective partnership between the government and community for stakeholders in cultural heritage management, and to strengthen this ASEAN social cultural community as the people-centered third pillar of ASEAN, is the culture pillar. And the third one is to give organizational expression to the ASEAN Declaration of Cultural Heritage, emphasis on creative communities of human persons. Next, please. So the declarations were signed in Vientiane in the year 2000. And in order to accomplish our objectives and the mission, we would like to focus on establishing a cultural heritage social contract within ASEAN, which means this social contract concept, it means to link government, the people, and the business sector, and the local communities in a joint commitment to the protection of cultural heritage, to complement, to revise the, to provide consultancy to the policy making, and to draw actions for the safeguarding of cultural heritage in the regions for the future generations in the region. This social contract includes, but not limited to, cultural heritage law, regulation, governance, education, cultural heritage community, and also capacity building for cultural heritage personnel in various scopes and societies. And the member organizations we work cooperatively with the with the ASEAN, with dialogue with the ASEAN Inter-Parliamentary Assembly and the ASEAN Council of Culture Ministers and other appropriate ASEAN groups. So this is our vision. Upon the official registration by ASEAN, would be fully function our focus. Next, please. As a non-governmental network and digital-based network across the region, our missions, we have a threefold mission. The first is to be a forum for robust discourse about heritage among ASEAN heritage professional practitioners, civil society, the community organizations, and interested members of the general public, to promote public awareness of the importance of heritage protection and safeguarding as a vital component for sustainable development for the countries and the region. The second mission is to be a think tank, a resource center to support ASEAN's policy decision makers in cultural heritage through a variety of methodology approach and activities such as analysis, consultation, training, seminar, conferences, and to highlight to the government and the general public the key issue of heritage, and to act as responsible third force to ASEAN, pertaining to ASEAN, but independent from official, transnational, and non-commercial stakeholders, and to serve as the bridge between the heritage interests and the goals of the people, business, and government. Next, please. Next, please. And the third one is very important, that we will be a responsible and locally based advocates to propose development of a wide range of heritage management programs in ASEAN to try to place cultural heritage at the heart of the ASEAN community building efforts, and to bring creative solutions to protect heritage sites from damaging commercialization and urbanization. And this was just put in the Vientiane Declaration by the Ministers of Culture and Arts in 2000 in year 2000. So this is a real the three spine missions that SEACHA would like to accomplish along the way. Next, please. Next, please. I'm sorry for perhaps the very slow network. Yeah. So over the past 2 years, we have ran several programs. We have 2 major programs because of the consequences caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. It was impossible to accomplish the major ideas and programs, and also with the it also affected the official registration of the organization over the past 2 years. So we try to adapt the situation by running 2 major programs. The first one is the what we call the Child Time Talks, to organize a series of theoretical talks online, delivered with different experts in many fields in cultural heritage. So so far we have done 4 sessions of the talk. We call as Cha time. Cha means tea, and the seminar aims to provide information and to bring up issues for discussions among scholars or the members of the public on different issues on cultural heritage. Next, please. Yeah, about child time, we have not done that with on any topic regarding cultural heritage in Indonesia. So I would like to invite Indonesia or Jogja city to join us in the next child times in the next months. Besides, we have one important program. It is the capacity building in heritage management clinics. We call it a clinic because we look into issues to work with the various partners in the local cities or localities of the countries to try to aim to solve the problems. So the first capacity building program was focused on the balancing the tourism and heritage in the cities. So the 2 pilot cities was now the project are now under progress. The first one is the Siak City, Indonesia. The project launched in the last year, and the second one is the Praes City in Thailand. And we have got many productive results from the program. So I hope that we can bring out the result for discussion and to present to you for evaluation in the next time. Next, please. So for the membership and governance of Southeast Asian cultural heritage, basically the members of the Alliance are organizations dedicated to the area of heritage protection, based and legally registered in ASEAN countries. Additionally, individuals, academics, and heritage professionals who are committed to work with us together to create a platform to facilitate the discourse in the area of heritage protection in the region are welcome to join us by either by individual or by institution. Next, please. Next, please. So we have a board of directors. So I mentioned before that we have 7 founding members, and the board is composed of the directors of each country. So each organization will be the focal points of networks of experts of organizations in different fields in heritage. So we act as a team to develop public policy recommendations on cultural heritage, to arrange funding, to prepare proposals for funding, and to select and oversee the management of various programs and activities, and to evaluate our performance against the mission. Yes, please. Yeah, so after 2 years of operations, so this year, we aim to request the accreditation by ASEAN as an entity associated to ASEAN. And we will promote, we will act as a catalyst to promote ASEAN's third social cultural pillar in the area of cultural heritage protection. So as you can see this in the declaration of ASEAN on heritage signed in 2000, that all cultural heritage identities and expressions, cultural rights and freedoms derive from dignity, and work inherent in the human person in creative interaction within other human persons, and that the creative communities of human person in ASEAN are the main agents, consequently should be the principal beneficiary and participate actively in the realization of the interests, heritage, expressions, and rights. So basically, this is the introduction of our organization. And as the new and young organization, we are looking forward to further development of the membership and further promote our visibility and influence, and of course to develop practical and effective efficient programs and activities to benefit our founding members and also associated networks. Joining this forum, I would like to present our initiative on how SEACHA could support the craftsmanship transmission in the context of the creative economy. So, handicrafts, could I share my own screen, please? Could I share my own screen, please? Can I share my own PowerPoint from my computer, please? Okay, I can see now. Thank you. Could you allow me? So anyway, sorry.
Do you want to share by yourself? Or
yes, I have a PowerPoint to show.
Okay.
Allow me to share my screen, please.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, excellent. Thank you now. All right. So we thank to the advice by our colleagues, and also throughout our discussion, we have come up with an initiative, and I would like to bring up here for our comments and discussion. And also, this is I hope that we will bring up some perspective to contribute to the Batik City within this program as a short term and in the long term. So in the context of handicraft in ASEAN, we know that handicrafts are part of the intangible cultural heritage domains. One of these important domains in the intangible cultural heritage, which might be called folklore or maybe for traditional knowledge. But clearly that the handicraft is a really clear form of expression of intangible cultural heritage that's passed through generations. And in the context of many crafts, the world of handicraft in ASEAN is now some of them are flourishing with distinction, but while others are in danger of vanishing or being degraded due to the lack of transmission of skills and knowledge to the younger generation. This is due to social change and also development or the change of the market economy and etc. And also the lack of livelihood for younger craft practitioners from the handicraft themselves also bring many elements in handicrafts in the verge of disappearance. And also many of the handicrafts maybe have a lot of values and have the advantages in the developments like fabric weaving or many others like pottery making, but many others are still under danger of dying out. And partially the important reason is that the quality of the technique and materials has been degraded to meet commercial imperatives. And also we have also observed that the traditional techniques and the design, and the reputation and style associated with handicraft are vulnerable to imitation and misappropriation. You can see a lot of cheap copies of original Batik or the program or really valuable handmade products. So across souvenir shops, across the region, you can find one piece of fabric similar to that in one market in Thailand or in Hanoi, the same piece. And that is a sad situation and sad reality today. Also, these cheap imitation undermine the sales of traditional handicrafts, and as well as the quality reputation of the product itself and the community or the artisans or the source community who produce them. And let's bring this workshop and also our whole idea falls under the framework of the important conventions by UNESCO. The first is the 2003 Convention on the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage. As I mentioned, the handicraft is one of the 5 domains of the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage. And also it has a lot to do with the 2005 Convention on the protection of and promotion of the diversity of cultural expression. So these are the spines of the core that guide us in the core approach to this initiative. And also one important legal framework that we would like to draw in here is the Intellectual Property Convention. It's a WIPO convention. And I think these are the most important legal, international legislative framework for the context of this program. So as in general, handicrafts, although there's no agreed definition on the handicraft, but generally traditional craftsmanship, it requires the specialized traditional techniques skills and knowledge that are considered the quality, antiquity and transmitted from the generation to generation. The antiquity aspects could be considered as in a relative perspective, not an absolute, because there is the notion of authenticity and antiquity in terms of intangible heritage is somehow not appropriate in this context, in the concept of UNESCO Convention. And handicrafts can be traditional cultural expressions in their design, appearance, style, but it can also embody the traditional knowledge in the form of the skills and know-how used to produce them. So in general, there are many different features that handicrafts shares. Handicrafts is produced by artisans completely by hand, or with the help of the hand tools, or even used in machinery, provided the artisan direct manual contribution remains the most substantial component of the finished product. Their representations or expressions are the symbolic of the culture of that community or the artisans. And handicraft encompasses a wide variety of goods made of raw materials that may be collected in nature. And their distinctive features can be utilitarian, aesthetic, creative, culturally attached, decorative, functional, traditional, or religiously and socially symbolic and significant. And there are no particular restriction on production quantity, and no two pieces are exactly alike. So that's the unique feature of handicraft. We talk about different pieces. They have similarities in patterns, in model, in shape, but they have their own nuance. So from there, we set the objective of this initiative is the first objective is to support the transmission of traditional handicrafts in the region to young people. The second is to ensure a reasonable livelihood for young people learning handicraft skills. So anyone participating in the program to be ensured a reasonable livelihood to be sustainably attached to the tradition. And thirdly is to safeguard and promote the traditional handicrafts in ASEAN in the context of sustainable development. The world has been talking about sustainable development in various scopes and scale and instruments, especially in the Convention 2003. In 2016, UNESCO has adopted the new operational directives on intangible cultural heritage and sustainable development, in which encourage the safeguarding of intangible heritage, handicraft, and various domains of ICH in the context of sustainable development. So this fall into our, so we take that as a big vision and the goal to move forward within the program. From that view, the core concept, we have three components. Three strengths of strategy. The first one is to support the transmission of handicrafts. So the first thing to do is to identify the handicraft elements that are in danger, and it needs to support and those who practice the master crafts persons, who those skills would be passed to the next generation. So we prioritize the elements that are in need of safeguarding, and of course we will select the elements based on the judgment, based on the evaluation, based on the needs, based on the consents of the local partners, and we will look at the elements under a number of criteria. First, needs to be need-based. They need to be need-based, and also they need to be considered as there's a possibilities for potentials for development. And that means that they have the knowledge and skills, but also the potential for further development. And second is it's based on the needs of the country. And the third one, importantly, is the free, fair, informed, and test and consent of the stakeholders, especially the local communities who own, who create, who practice, and who sustain the element. And that's why in the second strength of this component is that we would like to support the local communities, the handicraft artisans, the masters, to strengthen the viability of the handicraft. Their own practice should be strengthened before the transmission takes place. This could be undergone through a series of activities, for example, to support the transmission through workshop classes, through the work of documentation, to the workshop of restoration or revitalization of the skills and knowledge or patterns at the will of the craftsman. And we will channel these through the capacity building programs for both the artisans and the young craftsmen on a number of important skills for further development post production. So the core concept. So SEACHA will look at the possibility to raise the seed money to support scholarship for young people to do apprentice under the master craftsman capacity or training or transmission classes, and they will have to meet the standards, meet the requirement, and they will have to pass the selection by the craftsmen persons themselves. So the decision is made based on the will of the master craftsman. So it's important to identify craftspersons who must have recognized expertise, the willingness to teach, and the openness to concept branding, and also further promotion in the context of creative economies, which I would like to address in the next slide. So for the transmission of the craft knowledge and skills, we're not a sustainable solution without providing a market for the craft. So that's why we always think of, we have thought about the program will not just stop at the transmission, but also post-production promotion and support. First is to control the quality and to develop the branding. So we will identify and certify designers and craft items based on the quality and under the judgment of the craftsman and an expert who can assist them. And also we can identify designers who can assist the craftspersons to work together with them to develop the design that both suits the fits in the cultural traditional knowledge skills, but also it suits the contemporary market, and work towards a portfolio of new products. From there, a brand for both producers and consumers across the ASEAN will be created. And we will also look into the creation of a regional crafts market, either offline, on the site, or the face-to-face or online. And we will explore the opportunities for with e-commerce platforms to set up the special session for sales. And so so you may ask that, so where are the revenues or the income generated from the activities will be used for. So SEACHA will extract the part of the revenue to from the sales transactions to enable the scholarship program, to make sure that the program takes on go on sustainably, to be self-funded and not dependent on outside funding. over the first few years. But over the first 3 years, SEACHA will try to find a sustainable seed money to keep it go on in a certain period, because we know that this is not an overnight work, which will take 5, 10 years or 20 years for decades to accomplish. But this brings up a new perspective, a new vision for us to do. And the operations of the platform of e-commerce will so the SEACHA will not have the capacity of this, but we will collaborate with them, and we have the capacity to certify the craft item quality, and we will identify designers. We will, as I mentioned before, that we will develop a portfolio for craft production, and we will make a brand for both producers and consumer. Yeah. For the sustainability, to ensure the sustainability of the program, so we will have to be the platform will be has to be outsourced for e-commerce provider. So SEACHA will appoint. We find opportunities to appoint a craft, what we call a craft steward, who it may be an organization, or maybe a team, or maybe an artisan, responsible for nurturing SEACHA support for that handicraft, continuously reviewing assessing craftsperson and apprentices, and overseeing the quality of the training and the production. The second thing to make sure that the program to be sustainable is the craft passion. Will be set up to be created, to be sought to provide ongoing funding for the program, and to assist in promoting the success of the training and marketing. And all the revenue, all the income from the sales to be reinvested, to recycle, to enable the scholarship program to be self-funded. Yeah, and so for the cooperation and partnership, we foresee that all the SEACHA members, SEACHA founding members from the 7 countries. Now we have 8. If Laos will send us the yes letter soon, and we know that our potential partners in various countries. We know that as the professor mentioned about the creative city and world craft cities, and we know that we now have access, and we have collaborate with the World Craft Council, who have access to senior at the top practitioners who could support us in the channeling in development of the network of the crafts for the ASEAN countries. And we have also stakeholders from the government. We have UNESCO and the private sector. So for that, we will look into further details. So that's our our general idea about how to support crafts, handicraft in general, and of course for the batik in specifically. So I will leave the floor open to our discussion later, how SEACHA can contribute under this initiative, how SEACHA contribute to the safeguarding and promotion of batik within the program. So thank you very much for listening, and I would like to leave the floor to the facilitator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tang. It's very interesting to see that SEACHA prepare having the initiative to support the transmissions. This is very interesting, especially also for the young generation. And you prepare the how to identify craft And then how we also, yesterday we talked about the master of the craft itself that sometimes ignoring. And this is very important also how we can support them. And you point out also about the market. Market is not our problem, especially in this pandemic situations. And the last point you mentioned about the sustainability, about establishing a craft steward, craft patrons will be this what many community all over the globes also needs of this kind of support for their sustainability. Thank you so much. We can discuss, and any question, please you put your question in the chat, and then later on in the question and answer we can discuss. Now I would like to invite Edric Ong, my old friend. He is an architect and fashion designer, the president of Society Atelier Sarawak, the Craft and Craft Society of Sarawak in East Malaysia, president of APADA, ASEAN Handicraft Promotion and Development Associations, and honorary member and advisory WCC Asia Pacific region, live in Kuching, Malaysia. So Edric, time is yours, please.
Thank you very much, Sita. And first of all, I think on behalf of World Crafts Council Asia Pacific region and World Crafts Council International, I wish to thank you and the organizers for putting and giving time for tribute to our late president, Dr. Gada Hijawi Gadumi. It is very touching. I also want to say that it is wonderful that your organization in the university and also our Gusti Genjang and Her Royal Highness has personal attention in this, and that you carry on the intentions of how it all started when Yogyakarta became World Crafts Council World Batik City. And you have carried on the Jogja Batik Biennale for these 2 rounds now, and the 3rd round would have happened, I think, last year, had the pandemic not happened. But you continue on with your summer course programs. And this is a way in which we have to consider how we can network, discuss, and benefit one another. And I wish there were more participants from other World Craft cities participating in this afternoon's program, because you have really undertaken an obligation to keep alive and to share knowledge of what Jogja Batik City, why it has become a World Batik Council city for Batik. It has been very interesting listening to Pak Rahadi, my good friend as well, and also from Dr. Nguyen, because it is strange that how the world is getting smaller. Communication is now fast. I remember the days when I was much younger, when my parents, in order to communicate fastest with friends, giving them greetings or condolences of the world in the next part of the world, would send telegrams. And then we started to have fax machines. I just dumped my own fax machine not too long ago because it's no use anymore. And if those of you who are as old as I, you all remember how our handphones used to be big. You have to carry them around because there are a few kilos. And from handphones now you have smartphones. And because communication is so quick and fast, everybody also requires you to be quick and fast in responding. So if the world now is really going at such a faster pace, there are the benefits and also there are also disadvantages, right? So we say that it is beneficial to a lot of people because at the click of on your computer, I can see a batik design, the royal batik design from Yogyakarta. And at a click, as Nguyen has said, you can easily download it, copy it, and then using your Photoshop, change the colors, and there you have a new design. But the origin of that design is a Jogja pattern, the Kawong, for example. But this is happening now, and this is what is also a crisis as we go into this fast-moving age where everything is also disposable, because I do a quick print. I wear this dress, which is like only 50 ringgit Malaysia. And then I wear it once or twice and I throw it away. So this whole thing, there are so many issues that we have to talk about. But this afternoon, we are concentrating on how the World Crafts Council, Craft Cities, or the UNESCO Creative Cities Network can better work together. What are the issues and where we are at this present moment? May I share my screen, please? Okay, so this is the International Summer Course on Yogyakarta as a World Batik City. Can you see?
Can you make slideshow?
Can I make slideshow? I want to control it one by one actually, but unless your guys will want to run my slides for me. Would you guys like to run my slides?
No, it's okay. It's okay if you want to.
Yeah. Can you see my slide?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So this was a very important and memorable time when we had the Jogja World Batik City and we were in Imogiri, because this was truly an international gathering. As you can see, the Queen was there and Dr. Gada was there, I'm there, and then there were several other invited guests from India, from Holland, from other parts of Europe who gathered. And we also had a very important natural dye workshop in Imogiri, I think, which was very significant. World Crafts Council, I think maybe a lot of us in this afternoon's forum are not quite aware of what the...
Edric, sorry, yeah. Edric, the participant would like also to make a slideshow. Can you click the slideshow? Because it's smaller than...
Oh, can you guys then share my slide for me, please?
Oh, okay. Dara, bisa slideshow-nya Pak Edric?
Sir, you can just click on slideshow so we get full view of your slides.
Never mind. Let the secretary run it for me so that I can speak more freely instead of trying to fiddle around with the gadgets like Dr. Rahadi was saying.
Bisa, Dara?
Okay.
Yes.
You see it now, full screen?
Yes.
Well,
langsung terus saja, Dara, teruskan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the World Crafts Council, known as WCC, AISBL, because that is the registered name in Belgium, where we are now registered as an international non-profit organization. Founded in 1964, so now we are almost about 57 years old, to promote fellowship, foster economic development through income-generating craft-related activities, organize exchange programs, workshops, conferences, seminars, and exhibitions. And in general, we offer encouragement, help, and advice to the craftspersons of the world. Now, we are dividing the world as the way UNESCO has divided into 5 regions. Africa, Asia Pacific, Europe, Latin America, and North America. And we are one of those few NGOs affiliated to UNESCO as a Category A organization. But strangely enough, the WCC was founded in New York by three important ladies, Eileen Osborne Webb, and co-founders Margaret Patch and Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay from India. But out of that, I have to now also say that maybe one of our least active regions is where the country it was founded, which is North America. Why is it so? It is so because crafts, if you name yourself as a craft artist, it seems that you are less appreciated in the Western world than if you were known as a fine artist. And so even in North America, they like to call traditional craft artists as folk artists rather than a craft artist. All right, next slide. So World Crafts City initiative was adopted by the World Crafts Council International, launched in China in 2014. In 2014, we had the opportunity of celebrating the 50th golden anniversary of WCC. So in initiating the first World Crafts Cities, we gave recognition to Yogyakarta for Batik and Donghua, China for wood carving. All right. So what it is that it therefore, through this innovative and unique network, we hope that on the global platform, the reputation and assets of a creative city in a specific craft field, for example, in wood carving or in batik, pottery example, is then highlighted. And we also want to strengthen the local potential for innovation and the development of creative tourism. So note those words, creative tourism, because in many of our countries, for example, like in Malaysia, craft comes under the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, which means that Malaysian Handicraft Development Corporation or Kraft Tangan Malaysia comes under the umbrella of the Ministry of Tourism. Then we want to promote the exchange of know-how, exchange of experiences and best practices in diverse crafts fields at the national, regional, and international level, and to create new opportunities for cooperation and partnership between the designated creative craft cities. So you can see that later as I share with you the number, there are at least about 46 cities, Pak Rahadi, which have been given WCC Craft City status so far. We missed out last year because of the pandemic and nobody could travel to go and physically assess any cities that may have submitted or applied for getting the status. So for a year, we have been dormant. But the thing is also that this is WCC's initiative, but it should be playing a complementary contribution to the UCCN, the UNESCO Creative Cities Network Program. And this is something we hope that in the coming years, there'll be more networking and collaboration between these two initiatives, which comes under, if you like, the UNESCO umbrella. Next, please. So 2014, where it all started, Dongyang, China, for wood carving, Yogyakarta for craft city for batik. Next. Dongyang, those of you who were there during the golden anniversary celebration, it's an entire city devoted to the art of wood carving, and where wood carving is such an important creative economy for the entire city. That it is only city that I know where I know a master craftsman in wood carving is a millionaire. All right. We always think that craftspeople are struggling, trying to peddle their crafts. But here in China, in Dongyang, my friend, Mr. Wu, he is a millionaire. He owns a 50-room hotel. The government has given him land for his workshop, and people are queuing up to be apprenticed to his workshop. Next. Yogyakarta, the world craft city for batik. I must congratulate Yogyakarta and the Yogyakarta government, the Sultan, the Queen, because we were so impressed by how over the years since 2014 that you have achieved the status, development is so apparent. There is a school, an entire college which is set up for the education of batik. There are initiatives to help the communities like in Imogiri and several other communities in the art of batik and trying to give them each an identity, whether it be in natural dye or in specific motifs, to develop the batik industry in the region of Yogyakarta. And also now I know that even for the last Batik Biennale, you have been networking with the other batik producing regions in Indonesia. That is admirable. Next. In 2015, two cities from China, Tehua, Hui'an, from India, Mahabalipuram and Jaipur, from Iran, two cities, Isfahan and Tabriz. Next, please. Tehua, those of you who are ardent ceramic collectors, you will understand Tehua, which is the original bone china, if you like, the white porcelain. Next. Hui'an, stone carving. Hui'an is in the south, and you will see also that if a lot of stone granite carvings are being exported to Southeast Asia, chief among which are those for those Chinese tombstones, all right, and for the temples. But Hui'an has established a name for itself internationally because of the inherent skills of the local carvers. And so international sculptors, particularly from America, go to Hui'an to produce their masterpieces. Sometimes they don't even have to be there physically all the time. They send their little models and it's made for them to scale in Hui'an by the local sculptors. Next. Similarly, in Mahabalipuram, stone carving, which is more traditional because this is a traditional town by the sea and it's a historical city. Next. Jaipur, world craft city for crafts because it has a multitude of techniques of different array of crafts, from leather crafts to stone carving, to embroideries, to textile, to leather sleepers, to macrame, and so on and so forth. Next. Tabriz, just famous for, Tabriz is in Iran, so Persian carpets. Here, Tabriz carpets has its own specific and recognizable Tabrizi technique and motifs. Next. Isfahan, a world craft city for crafts. Again, the enamel ware is very famous. Their silver and metal work is very famous. Next. In 2016, in West Asia, we managed to go to Lebanon and recognize Tripoli as a world craft city for crafts, Hebron in Palestine for world craft city for crafts, Also in Jordan for stone mosaic. From Iran, we had 2 other cities. One is Mashhad for precious stones, turquoise, Lalijin for pottery. Next slide. So you can see here in Tripoli, what's important, I think, is that World Crafts Council and the panel of assessors felt that these are cities which are in crisis. These are countries which are under war and under crisis, whether it be refugees and whatever. But the art and craft and the heritage should not perish, but we should recognize what they are still doing and encourage them to keep on producing by recognizing them in our World Craft City network. Next. Hebron, World Craft City for Crafts in hand-blown glass and in Kilim. Next. Madaba. Those of you who are very keen in archaeology and in history, you know that here in Madaba is one of the largest mosaic which was uncovered in an archaeological find of the map. And so we have recognized them for their stone mosaic. Next. Mashhad. It's very interesting that here in Mashhad, we normally know that a lot of people who are involved in the gemstone industry, particularly in India, they're all men. But in Mashhad, you'll be surprised that a lot of the women are actually the ones who are involved in hand cutting and polishing the gemstones. For example, the turquoise. Next. Lalijan, a very traditional but unique way of making huge earthenware pottery. Next. In East Asia sub-region, we were able to, and I was there to assess these 3 cities. Fuxin as a World Craft City for agate, Xianyu for traditional Chinese furniture, and Donghai as a city for rock crystal carving. It is amazing that you go to these cities, that each of these cities is entirely devoted to a particular technique and a particular medium of craft. And the whole livelihood, I guess, because China is such a huge population, so they have their own domestic market to sell to. Next, please. Okay, this is Fuxin. Can you imagine this huge piece of agate, hand-carved with mechanical tools, and then the beauty of each carving is displayed. And again, in China, if you're a master of this kind of agate carving, you can earn a very good living. Next. Xianyu, Craft City for traditional Chinese furniture. Next. Donghai for crystal carving. Here, the beauty of the stone. And what is also interesting is that for each city which we are assessing, we must see that they are continuing to provide the educational facility. And there are colleges which specialize in training people to do, for example, crystal carving or for making furniture, but also it filters down to the elementary schools as well, whereby, for example, they are taught pottery or something, and craft is part of the curriculum. Next, please. In 2017, you can probably you have noticed by now that Iran has been very active in submitting for the World Craft City status, we had in 2017 Marivan, just for one particular craft, which is clash, a hand-stitched shoe. Then you have Serjan for kilim weaving and Kalpogan for handmade pottery. So I want to say that although we give it the name World Craft Cities, it doesn't mean that by our standards we say, oh, you must be a population of more than 1 million before you be classified as a city. But no, the city is actually, it can be a small city, it can be a small town, it can be a village which is concentrated and renowned for a particular craft. So in Thailand in 2017, Sakonnakhon was designated as World Craft City for indigo dyeing. Next, please. All right, so you see in Marivan, this particular traditional footwear, well, it looks as good as your Adidas or your Nike. It wears as well and as long because every local person would rather wear this shoe for their particular environment and climate and terrain, and it lasts them a long time. Next, please. Serjan for kilim weaving, the beauty of this particular technique. Next, please. Next slide. Kopongan for handmade pottery. You can see the way in which the decoration is done freehand and everything is using natural pigments from their environment. Next one. Sakonnakhon, World Craft City for indigo dyeing. It is very interesting that if you remember, Ibu Sita, at the last summer course, we had our Thai friend, Mr. Man from Sakonnakhon, to come to Imogiri and do the workshop to network and to also compare with the Indonesian natural dye experts and how there was a lot of exchange of ideas and techniques because he was using banana for part of the modern thing. Next, please. As I mentioned just now, it need not be a city. It can be a group of islands that is specialized in, for example, in Scotland, New Hebrides. New Hebrides, if you Google and you check where it is geographically, it is very difficult to reach in Scotland and it is very cold. But because it is so cold, they have a special kind of sheep that produces a special kind of wool, and they were able to weave it into Harris tweed weaving, right? So it is a group of islands which specialize in a special kind of weaving. Bornholm in Denmark, well, this is a bit more contemporary style of craft. Then Rari in Chile for horsehair weaving craft. Chimbaronga in Chile for wicker work, which is like rattan weaving. Donoghue in Chile for chamanto weaving. And Linguini in Chile for wood carving. I'll show you what they are. Next slide, please. So from the hair of the horse tail, you use that fiber to make all this weaving. And they create all kinds of beautiful crafts from jewelry to just decorative craft in Rari, Chile. Next. Chimbaronga, World Craft City for wicker work. These are all in Latin America. Next one. Donoghue, chamanto weaving. One particular type of weaving in wool, one particular type of attire. These are actually like ponchos, which are worn because the weather is cold. So it becomes a unique cultural dress, if you like. Donoghue in Chile. Next. Linguini in Chile for wood carving. you will notice that these are a lot of also religious carvings that they do, similar to what they have done in Palestine. Next one, please. New Hebrides. New Hebrides had already a very significant pattern because hand-woven Harris tweed, as you can see in the photo, they have a Harris tweed authority set up, which certifies the trademark. So if it is hand-woven in the New Hebrides only, you can put this trademark and this symbol, 100% pure new wool, hand-woven in the Outer Hebrides. So this is what you were talking about as well, Dr. Nguyen, that talking about WIPO, talking about geographical indicator, talking about authenticity, talking about certification. This is where we have to go more and more into in order to protect the different crafts of our regions. Next, please. Bonham, World Craft City for Crafts, a variety of contemporary crafts here. Next. And in 2018, here I am not showing any more slides. Because these are the more recent ones in Southeast Asia, Kuching. Then we have in Indonesia, Gianyar, Bali, and Konkan in Thailand. From West Asia, from Iran, again, we had 3 places: Mebot for floor covering, Abade for wood carving, Korashat for hand-woven fabrics. And then in Lebanon, we had Sedon. And in China, Ansi, famous for its rattan and iron crafts. Now, I have to tell you a little secret, which probably the Chinese will not tell us, right? But I went to Ansi to be one of the jury members. So the iron craft is, of course, China is famous for their ironworks. But do you know where all the rattan comes from? Indonesia. Indonesia exports all its rattan to China, and it ends up in Ansi. They stockpile your rattan and they make the rattan and iron combined furniture for the world market, if you like. So it's interesting, isn't it? Maybe it's that kind of economic collaboration, Pak Rahadi. Next, please. 2019, Southeast Asia, Thailand, we had Chiang Mai for crafts. Iran again had 4 designated, Ghaznaabad, Malayer, Shiraz, the famous historical city, Sanjan, and in Palestine we had Bahla. In Uzbekistan we had Kokand, Kyrgyzstan, Isikul for crafts, and then Southeast Asia we had Nepal, Lalitpur, and Bangladesh we had Sonagaon for crafts, which means that Sonagaon is more for its Jamdani weaving. In Europe, in England, we had Farnham for crafts. And Latin America was probably one of the last cities that was visited, and then Trinidad in Cuba for its needlework, which is like lace. Next, please. So this is the latest count, unless I am mistaken or I've counted wrongly. But total to date, there are 46 cities. There may be some which is in the pipeline and which the committee were not yet able to travel to give the stamp after their assessment. So 46 cities. Compared to UNESCO Creative Cities Network, which currently has about 220. Next, please. So talking about networking, I'm sharing with you, this is a slide actually taken from Dr. Gada's presentation, all right? And she had this desire that these cities with similar medium of craft should work more closely together. And we were talking about this in 2019 at the World Craft Cities Network meeting held in Kuching in December 2019, at which the princess from Yogyakarta was presenting a paper. So, for example, Jaipur, Isfahan, and Hebron, they were awarded for crafts in general. Then you have Mashhad, Fusin, and Donghai. They specialize in hard stone, for example, semi-precious stones, agate, and rock crystal. So they should be exchanging more technological skills and design. And for those other places in the world who want to learn more, and if these cities would host workshops, or even right now, like online forums and all that, there could be more knowledge shared and more skills shared probably if there is a possibility of even doing online workshops. Tabriz and Shurjan, carpet and kilin weaving. Mahabalipuram in India and Hoi An. These are completely two different cultures, India and China, and the style of expression is completely different because Mahabalipuram is more religious figures of India. And Hoi An is more geared towards the Chinese expression. Then you have Tehua for its Bone China, Lalijan and Kapungan. They're all doing ceramics or porcelain, either using a wheel, handmade, or maybe they have even progressed to using more technological skills. How that could be a very interesting discourse on exchange of skills and tools. Yogyakarta and Sakonakon, of course, you have started it even 2 years ago, Batik, indigo dye, two different styles of techniques in coloring and decorating woven fabrics. Dongyang and Sianyu, wood carving and wood furniture. And I believe that there has been talk in Indonesia of submitting for more areas which specialize in wood carving as well. So there is all that potential and possibilities. And what I want to say is this: what is the basic difference between the World Craft Cities Network and the UNESCO Creative Cities Network? There is a call now. I don't know whether you're aware of this, my Indonesian friends and my Vietnam friend. This is the year when you can submit for UNESCO Creative Cities Network. The deadline is June the 30th, I think, right? Your application must reach them and be marked before the 30th of June. But because Kuching is submitting for gastronomy, all right? So I just want to say that the difference is that the UNESCO wants you to produce for them a 4-year plan. What you hope to do and sustain in networking during 4 years. It is not just recognizing you for your good food, for example, or for your good textile, but how you are educating the young, how the young is brought in, how the creative economy is revitalized or energized, and how you are helping put dollars in the pockets or rupiah in the pockets of each craft artisan. So that is the one thing that they are looking for in the submissions as you apply for a UCCN for a creative city. And they make it a point that you must commit to attend other creative city network forums. If I'm hosting a creative city forum in Yogyakarta, say the Batik Biennale, you have to send a representative to come and attend. You have to commit, sign there that your mayor, who is the one who's submitting for your city, will commit to send people to attend the conferences, the networking forums. So that is very interesting, and I think it is something worth considering as we move forward for the World Craft Cities network. Next, please. So, Jogja World Craft City for Batik and Kuching World Craft City. The little that I can do in Kuching is that I can become more friendly with you in Jogja. Rahadi. And I know that because even within ASEAN Tourism Network, it is already established that Jogja and Kuching are sister cities for tourism. But beyond that tourism, and since tourism also covers the ambit of textile, batik, crafts, maybe it's something that we can foster even closer links just between our two cities in Malaysia and in Indonesia. Next, please. And it is not just something that I pull out of the air. If you look at this cultural and geographical map of where we were centuries ago from the Sriwijaya and Majapahit Empire, we were linked. We were under the same kingdoms. So what more? Now we're talking about ASEAN as that kind of network between our nations in Southeast Asia. How more so we should be networking more closely together for our common agenda. Next, please. Thank you very much. These are the various websites. Take note of them if you want to find out more about APADA, the ASEAN Handicraft Promotion and Development Association, our society in Sarawak, societyatelier.org, the World Crafts Council International.org, or the World Crafts Council Asia Pacific Region.org. In the WCC International website, you will find the application and criteria and the process for the World Craft Cities application. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Edric. Wow, this is very broad for us to understand also the map of the craft in our regions. That WCC already works a lot since 2014, and we are Jogja World Batik City is one of the first, and it's our duty also to support the WCC activities in the futures, because we have to have the responsibility in this case. Yes. Now, anyone to have questions, please don't forget to put your questions in the chat. And welcome for His Excellency Tantowi Yahya, that he is already in our room now. But now we will go to Ibu Ida Ayu Surya Anjani Mahayastra, Chairwoman, Regional Craft Council, Gianyar World Craft City, that already mentioned by Edric. She's from Bali, Indonesia. Ibu Ida, now we will see the video of the Gianyar first.
Selamat datang di Gianyar. Terkenal sebagai pusat kerajinan di Pulau Dewata. Surga para penikmat seni dan kerajinan. Mayoritas pencarian masyarakat sebagai pengrajin bukan semata untuk menyambung hari esok, namun menjaga, mewarisi, dan melestarikan pesona budaya Bali. Kerajinan ukir patung, detail demi detail pahatan seakan menggambarkan ungkapan jiwa. Perak juga seakan menambah kemilau pesona Bali. Kunjungan ke Bali belum lengkap tanpa mengunjungi Desa Celup Sukawati Gianyar. Menyusuri Celup seperti memasuki pabrik perak raksasa. Disinilah sejak tahun 1915 pengrajin perak dan perhiasan telah berlangsung turun-temurun. Tak luput kekaguman akan kekayaan kain tenun tradisional Gianyar. Tenun tercipta dari seuntai doa, ketekunan, kesetiaan, serta mata hati pembuatnya yang selalu terjaga. Mutu dan kualitas menjadi modal utama eksistensi Gianyar untuk berkontribusi sebagai kota kerajinan dunia.
My first visit to Bali, and I am happy to start here in Semoga kegiatan ini dapat bermanfaat bagi seluruh masyarakat Gianyar dalam mendukung upaya pelestarian seni budaya dan kerajinan di Kabupaten Gianyar.
Pesona Gianyar untuk Pulau Seribu Pura tak luput dari campur tangan bantuan pemerintah. Gianyar menawarkan pengalaman tak tergantikan bagi siapapun yang mengunjunginya. Dharma Raksata Raksita. Gianyar, kota kerajinan dunia.
Gianyar, kota kerajinan dunia. Gianyar, World Craft City. Ceritakan Ibu Ida Ayu Ketut Surya Anjani Maya Mahalyastra. Please, your time.
Baik, terima kasih kepada Ibu Laretna atas waktu dan kesempatannya bagi kami dari Kabupaten Gianyar untuk memaparkan bahwa Gianyar yang telah ditetapkan sebagai kota kerajinan dunia. Merupakan sebuah kebanggaan kami bisa tampil di tengah-tengah dalam International Public Forum ini. Sebelumnya kami perkenalkan saya sebagai Ketua Dekranasda Kabupaten Gianyar. Ya, lanjut.
It's a great honor for me to be able to speak in this very important event. So I'm the chairman of...
Yang menerjemahkan tidak terdengar ya kelihatannya.
It's a great honor for me to be able to speak in this very special forum. I'm the chairman of the Deskanada, the Regency of Gianyar.
Baik, slide, next slide. Di sini kami tampilkan di hadapan Bapak Ibu sekalian bahwa potensi yang dimiliki oleh Kabupaten Gianyar kita lihat bahwa sudah berbagai macam kerajinan tampil di hadapan kita dan juga tarian-tarian yang menggunakan hasil daripada kerajinan dari Kabupaten Gianyar.
So in this display, I am showing you the different kind of the craft, including that they use in dance performance, so you can see the great potential of the Gianyar district.
Gianyar merupakan salah satu dari kabupaten kota yang ada di Provinsi Bali dengan jumlah penduduk 551.000 jiwa.
Gianyar is one of the district in Bali with 500 people inhabited in this district.
Next slide. Saat ini kita akan berbicara tentang perjalanan sejarah Gianyar, yang mana di awal daripada sejarah Gianyar diawali dengan dari sistem kekerajaan. Kemudian pada tahun berikutnya melalui pemerintahan yang mana pada saat ini yang dipimpin oleh kepala daerah atau bupati pada saat ini sudah sebanyak 11 kepala daerah yang saat ini bupatinya adalah Bapak Imade Mahayastra.
So this is the long timeline of the Gianyar history from the kingdom era into the modern Republican government system with 11 mayor, and the current mayor is Mr. Kade Mahayastra.
Next. Salah satu yang menunjukkan bahwa Gianyar telah dikenal sebagai kota kerajinan. Next. Ya, salah satu kerajinan yaitu Puri Gianyar di abad ke-19. Kita lihat bahwa dari instruktur bangunan-bangunan yang ada itu sudah menunjukkan hasil-hasil daripada kerajinan masyarakat Gianyar melalui ukiran-ukiran di dalam setiap sudut bangunan tersebut.
So in this picture you can see the picture of the real house of Gianyar, in which you can see the handcraft attached to every section of the house, of the real house.
Next. Kemudian kita lanjutkan bahwa perkembangan dari masa ke masa, dari masa kerajaan, perkembangan kota Gianyar banyak dipengaruhi oleh kerajaan Bedulu sebelum ekspansi Gajah Mada hingga pengaruh kerajaan Bali tahun 1580 sampai dengan 1651. Tepatnya pada tanggal 19 April 1771 menjadi Kabupaten Gianyar, Kota Gianyar.
So the developments of the Gianyar before became a city of Gianyar in tahun berapa, Bu?
Tahun 1771.
In 1971. Yeah, it became a regions of Gianyar. It went through a long process from the Bedulu regions, a kingdom, into the Gelgel and all of that. And this is to show that once Gianyar was the culture center of Bali.
Pada masa ke masa, di saat masa pemerintahan hingga kini menjadi masa di mana Gianyar mulai berkembang pesat, baik dalam kehidupan sosial masyarakat maupun kehidupan budaya dan pariwisatanya, mulai dari tonggak pengembangan seni lukis, patung, pahat, hingga pengembangan objek wisata berbasis budaya.
So the developments of the culture industry, tourist industry in Gianyar developed from the water space being in Bali and developed into different kind of touristic attractions, and it give a strong stimulation for the craft in this area.
Selanjutnya, slide. Ya, Gianyar Bali Living Heritage. Gianyar memiliki warisan landmark heritage yang lengkap dipadankan dengan kondisi geografis dan penataan kota dengan tetap mengedepankan budaya. Yang mana konsep daripada Gianyar yaitu Dharma Raksata Raksita. Siapa yang berbuat kebenaran, dia yang akan dilindungi oleh Dharma itu sendiri. Dan bisa kita lihat di sebelah itu ada sebuah gambar yang menunjukkan bahwa penataan daripada kota Gianyar yang telah mengidentitaskan bahwa Gianyar sebagai kota kerajinan dilihat dari patung-patung yang berjejer di alun-alun Gianyar, kemudian adanya lampu-lampu kota dengan hiasan dengan bentuk seperti penjor yang memang itu ada setiap kita melaksanakan hari suci agama Hindu.
So Gianyar as a living heritage has the philosophy of Dharma Raksata Raksita. So it means the whoever conserving and treating the cultural legacy, including and how to keep the conserve and treat the cultural legacy, including especially the craft. And you can see how the pictures on the side of the slide, where all of the maintenance of the city is all to develop the craft, or the city as the craft city.
Yeah. Slide. Ya. Gianyar yang telah ditetapkan sebagai kota kerajinan dunia, ini terkait dengan sejarah kerajinan dunia, sejarah kerajinan Gianyar yang pada tahun 1022 telah berkembang di Gianyar, yang mana pada awal kerajinan adalah untuk kebutuhan sakral. Artinya,
okay. In the early stage of the craft history in Gianyar, it developed from the early 11th century as something for the ceremony, for ritual. It's not for commercial, but basically it is produced for ritual.
Yeah. Next. Kerajinan, sejarah, budaya, nilai berkesinambungan, nilai global, ekonomi, dan ramah lingkungan. Nah, di sini dapat kami sampaikan bahwa sejarah fungsi sakral pada sejarah perbuatan kerajinan menjadi semangat bekerja dalam konsep yatnya. Yang dimaksud adalah bagaimana masyarakat itu sendiri telah melakukan aktivitas kerajinan dengan melakukan kegotong royongannya, kemudian bersama-sama membangun serta membuat ukiran-ukiran di setiap bangun tersebut.
So here you can see how the sacred purpose of the craft has been maintained by the Balinese and became the motivation of the local people to develop and create their craft together in the community.
Ya. Next. Adapun jenis-jenis daripada kerajinan Gianyar, yakni seperti kerajinan kayu, yang bisa kita lihat dalam layar. Next.
So among the handicraft that you can find in Gianyar is woodcraft.
Ya. Next. Beberapa jenis-jenis kerajinan Gianyar seperti kerajinan kayu, kerajinan terus bambu. Nah, dalam
we have wooden craft, we have bamboo, handcraft, handicraft.
Bambu, anyaman,
and weaving.
Yang kami sebagai Ketua Dekranasda Kabupaten Gianyar melakukan pembinaan serta bimbingan kepada perajin-perajin kami yang ada di masing-masing sentra.
And we continue to do some kind of guidance and directing the productions of the handicraft in every center of the craft around our district.
Yeah. Next. Jenis kerajinan lainnya juga seperti kerajinan tulang.
So we have also work of craft from bone.
Yeah. Tulang. Yeah. Terus next. Next. Kerajinan wayang kulit, topeng dan barong.
Puppetry and mass, and including barong, a large mass.
Dan kerajinan yang ada, yang tadi kami tampilkan itu bisa kita dapati di pasar-pasar tradisional ataupun pasar seni yang saat ini ada di Pasar Sukawati.
All the craft that I mentioned can be easily found in the market around the Gianyar district.
Ya. Jenis kerajinan lainnya seperti tekstil dan produk tekstil.
Other craft based on textile.
Ya. Dan kerajinan yang ramah lingkungan seperti pelapah pisang yang mana dikombin untuk menjadi tempat tisu maupun tempat cermin dan lain sebagainya.
And also we have some kind of a natural craft that can be used for daily needed for tissue and other use.
Yeah. Next, kerajinan perak.
Silver work.
Yang mana di Kabupaten Gianyar terkenal dengan kerajinan perak yang memang tersedia ataupun ada di salah satu sentra yaitu di Desa Celuk.
So in Gianyar district, we have a village that focus on silver work. That is Celuk village.
Yeah, next. Potensi industri kerajinan Gianyar. Kita lihat bahwa dari grafik kita lihat pertumbuhan unit usaha industri kerajinan dari tahun ke tahun mengalami peningkatan.
So in this graphic, you can see the increasing potential of the craft in this district.
Ya, laju pertumbuhan industri kerajinan menunjukkan potensi kesinambungan dan kita memiliki 173 sentra tahun 2019.
So in this graphic, you can see the sustainability of the craft center.
Yeah. Next. Kontribusi sektor kerajinan. Kontribusi dalam PDRB terkait dengan adanya kerajinan yang untuk meningkatkan pertumbuhan ekonomi itu sebesar 11,77% dengan pertumbuhan 1,28% per tahun.
So in this slide, you can see the great contribution of the craft to the government system of Gianyar.
Tenaga kerja per 2019 mencapai 79.650 orang tenaga kerja.
Including workers. Next.
Ya. Nilai ekspor, ya. Nilai ekspor per 2019 mencapai 14.672.496 US dollar. Artinya bahwa dengan adanya craft yang ada di Kabupaten Gianyar dan ini juga mendukung daripada nilai ekspor kita ke luar negeri.
So in this slide you can see also the great contribution of the craft that also supporting the export of Gianyar to overseas.
Adapun strategi di dalam peningkatan di internal, next. Adanya kebijakan dari Bapak Bupati Gianyar dengan adanya jaminan kesehatan melalui program bantuan kesehatan dan juga melalui asuransi ketenagakerjaan, kecelakaan kerja melalui BPJS Ketenagakerjaan.
So among the program that given by the Mayor of Gianyar to guarantee the workers, it is to provide insurance of health called BPJS for all of the craftsmen in this district.
Ya, dan juga memberikan hak cipta atas kekayaan intelektual yang dihasilkan.
And also to help them to find the copyright of their works.
Dan juga kepada para perajin dan industri UMKM kita juga bantu dengan pembelian modal melalui Kurda.
Yeah, the government's also providing them a source of capital to run their business.
Dan kita lihat dalam gambar bahwa kami pada saat itu sedang menerima kunjungan dari Menteri Pemberdayaan Perempuan dan juga kunjungan dari Ketua DPR RI Republik Indonesia.
So in these pictures, you can see also when we receive the visit from the Jakarta dignitaries.
Ya, next. Selanjutnya, bagaimana kita menciptakan kemitraan. Di sini kami dari Kabupaten Gianyar melakukan keterlibatan para perajin di dalam memberikan program-program kota sebagai kota kerajinan dunia.
And how we create partnership.
Kemudian memberikan pelibatan perajin dalam acara ulang tahun kota setiap tahunnya.
So we have collaboration of craftsmen in the city program, engagement craftsmen in the anniversary of the city, and also event of collaboration between cities of WCC in city of anniversary of Gianyar, amidst the condition of the pandemic as we have now.
Ya, dan pada gambar di sebelah ya kami tampilkan bahwa ketika Dr. Gada datang ke Kabupaten Gianyar pada saat itu menyerahkan sertifikat Gianyar sebagai ditetapkannya sebagai World Craft City pada tanggal 21 April 2019.
So on the pictures you can see when Dr. Gada hands the certificate to us as the city, the World City Craft.
Ya, next. Kemitraan dengan institusi internasional, Gianyar melakukan kemitraan bersama UNWTO Ubud 2018, audensi bersama dengan KBRI Singapura tahun 2019, ditetapkannya Gianyar oleh World Craft Council 2018, kemudian Bapak Bupati hadir dalam World Conference on Creative Economy 2018.
So on the left side slide, you can see the different kind of activities that we have been able to participate to a worldwide cultural institution to create partnership.
Ya, ini merupakan sebuah kebanggaan bagi Kabupaten Gianyar dengan telah ditetapkan sebagai kota kerajinan dunia dengan memenuhi 7 syarat yang telah ditentukan oleh WCC.
So this is a great honor for us in Gianyar after the World Craft Council designated us as the World Craft City.
Baik, selanjutnya. Next. Strategi keberlanjutan. Yang pertama, penguatan regulasi tentang perlindungan terhadap produk kria dalam 5 proses kreatif, yakni kreasi, produksi, distribusi, konsumsi, dan konservasi.
So one of the sustainable strategy that we have here is to strengthening the regulations on the protection of craft products in 5 process of creativity, creation, production, distribution, consumption, and conservation.
Kabupaten Gianyar juga memiliki sekolah-sekolah ataupun SMK yang memang fokus pada pengembangan sektor kria sehingga memberikan dampak pengembangan kerajinan kepada generasi penerus.
We in Gianyar are very lucky for having a high school of craft. So this school that focus on craft very important in sustaining the growth of the craft in this district.
Mendorong UMKM untuk ikut pameran skala nasional dan internasional seperti Inacraft, Craftina, Krianusa, Trade Expo Indonesia, dan lainnya.
Also to encourage microcraft industry to join the national, international exhibition like Inacraft, Craftina, Krianusa, Trade Expo Indonesia, etc.
Ya, dan di sebelah gambar kita lihat bahwa di sana ada pasar seni Sukawati yang sudah direvitalisasi oleh Bapak Bupati yang sekarang lebih modern namun tidak meninggalkan nilai-nilai Balinya.
So in one of the picture you can see the innovative market of Sukawati that has been innovated by our mayor of Gianyar.
Dan juga kami melakukan audensi kepada Ketua Umum Dekranas, pusat terkait dengan ditetapkannya Gianyar sebagai kota kerajinan dunia yang saat itu Ibu Mufidah Yusuf Kala.
So in this picture also you can see when we did some kind of consultation with the Madam Vice President of Indonesia as the chair of the Indonesian Dekranasda.
Dan juga kami mengikuti beberapa pameran-pameran yang diselenggarakan oleh pusat Jakarta, dalam hal ini yaitu Handicrafts, yang pada saat itu dikunjungi juga oleh Ibu Negara Iriana Joko Widodo.
So we have also some pictures of the our participation in the craft exhibition in Jakarta attended by the
Next.
Mrs. Joko Widodo.
Next. Sustainable Development Goals Gianyar bidang kerajinan. Terciptanya ekosistem kerajinan Gianyar yang berkelanjutan dengan dukungan terhadap 5 proses kreatif. Ya itu dah. Ya,
So sustainable development goals of Gianyar Craft City, the sustainable craft ecosystem in Gianyar that support the creative process with the 4 of creative actor in 3 major mutual sector like craft, performance, and culinary.
Dan juga keberlanjutan lainnya adanya pasar pusat kerajinan Gianyar yang nyaman, aman, representatif, dan modern.
And also to create the sustainability of the market, that it's safe, comfortable, and safe.
Ya. Next slide. Ya. Bagaimana kita menghadapi pandemi? Ya, jadi kami Dekranasda Kabupaten Gianyar pada awal tahun 2020 di mana pandemi 19 ini telah melanda dunia. Dan langkah-langkah maupun upaya-upaya yang kami lakukan yaitu melakukan kunjungan ke sentra-sentra industri kerajinan yang ada di Kabupaten Gianyar.
Now, how we fight the pandemic? In Gianyar, amidst the pandemic of COVID-19, we have been able to create a program to fight the pandemic. One of it is to visit the sentra of craft around our region.
Dan juga kita melakukan pelatihan peningkatan kapasitas untuk para perajin dan di bidangnya masing-masing. Dapat kita lihat dalam gambar bahwa sedang melakukan aktivitas pelatihan maupun bimbingan teknis kepada perajin-perajin yang ada di Kabupaten Gianyar.
Other than purchasing the product of the craftsmen, we also continue to train our craftsmen in the area and to support their works by providing working tools and collaboration with private sector and program with bank loan access with the minimum bank of interest as stimulant.
Dan melakukan kerjasama dengan corporate social responsibility sebagai stimulus pembagian kepada pembantu untuk memberikan bantuan alat kepada perajin yang membutuhkan.
I already translated that. Sorry, I came a little bit faster than that.
Sudah.
Yeah.
Okay. Jadi mengoptimalisasi penjualan secara online melalui marketplace maupun website yang dikembangkan sebagai platform penjualan online oleh pemerintah.
Okay, the last one is the optimizing the digital online sales of craft and build the website and digital marketplace of craft.
Ya, jadi demikian Ibu Lalita atas paparan yang kami sampaikan, kurang lebihnya kami mohon maaf. Terima kasih.
So that was all, Ibu Lalita, for our presentation, and just to show you how the great potential of Gianyar becoming one of the world's craft city in Indonesia. Thank you very much.
Not only for Indonesia, but for the world also. Thank you, Ibu Ida Ayu Surya Anjani. I would like to mention also that this is the management system for craft in Indonesia, that each regions like municipality as well as regency lead by the wife of the regents as well as the wife of mayor. So Ibu Ida Ayu is the wife of the regents of Gianyar city. And like Ibu, Her Majesty Queen Hemas of Yogyakarta, she is the wife of the Sultan Hamengkubuwono X, who is the governor of Yogyakarta special regions. So thank you very much, Ibu dan seluruh staffnya. So later on there will be questions.
Yep.
And now we will go to Wellington, New Zealand, that we will hear from His Excellency Tantowi Yahya. He is the Indonesian ambassador to New Zealand and Indonesian roving ambassador to Pacific. This is something that we really want to hear too. What is going on? Partnership, cooperation between Asia and the Pacifics. And I just want to mention, His Excellency is also a famous musician. Yes, so time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Terima kasih Mbak Laretna. Sorry for making my order at the very end instead of the very first, because
it's fine.
Exactly, because we had to break our fasting, and I just did my fasting. Taraweh even. I've just finished my Taraweh. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I would like to say hello to all the speakers that spoke before me. And I also would like to say hello to everybody who is still watching or joining this Zoominar. Well, actually, this is a very interesting topic, especially when it comes to Pacific. And you mentioned about my role here as the first Indonesian roving ambassador to the Pacific. I would say that when you mention Pacific, not many people in Indonesia particularly are very aware of what's really happening in the Pacific. And even not many people are aware of how many countries are there and what is the dynamic which is happening there. And most importantly is the relationship between the Pacific and Indonesia. And because the time is not too much anymore, I would like to use the time very efficiently and effectively, and for which I have provided some slides, if you don't mind, Mbak Laretna. Pak Rahadi RAMELAN, selamat sore Pak, apa kabar Pak? It has been a while, we haven't met. Okay, Gara, are you ready for the slide? Yes, this is the slide. Right, as requested, the theme of my presentations is Cooperation and Partnerships, Indonesian Pacific in Arts and Culture. For your information, Mbak Laretna, the motif here, the red and white motifs, is the combinations of our batik, batik kawung and batik parang, and the Maori traditional motif, and they look beautiful when we, can you see that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And proudly speaking, I painted the motif. I made the motif. All right. Let's go to the first slide. Okay. Pacific region is actually inhabited by 3 large ethnic groups. The first one, or the biggest one, is Melanesia. The Melanesia are the people that lives in Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, New Caledonia, Fiji, Aborigines in Australia, and some parts of Papua, West Timor or Nusa Tenggara Timor, and parts of Maluku. Actually, our brothers and sisters that live in Papua belong to Melanesian race. And the second largest race group or ethnic group is Polynesia. They are the people that live in Samoa, Tonga, Cook Islands, Niue, Tuvalu, Maori, which is the indigenous people of New Zealand, French Polynesia, parts of Manado, and then parts of Maluku. So the difference between Melanesia and Polynesia is very obvious. Melanesia is a bit darker than Polynesia, and they both have curly hair. And the next, or the tiniest race in the Pacific is Micronesia. They are the people that live in Marshall Island, Federated States of Micronesia, Kiribati, Nauru, Palau, and also in North Sulawesi. So those are the races that actually live in the Pacific, and they form themselves as Pacific nations. And if you look at the map over there, actually we have 3 provinces, we have 5 provinces which are situated in the Pacific, namely Papua and West Papua, Maluku and North Maluku, and West Timor. They are actually situated in the Pacific. And our brothers and sisters that live in those 5 provinces are predominantly Melanesian, Polynesians, and if you combine with our people that live in North Sulawesi, they are Micronesian. So it is fair to say that Indonesia is also part of the Pacific, because geographically we are located in the Pacific, and culturally we are also part of the Melanesian, Polynesian, and Micronesians group. So this is fair to say once again that Indonesia is part of the Pacific. Next. Now, like I said, we have 5 provinces which are located or situated in the Pacific, like I mentioned earlier. And ethnically and culturally, we also belong to Polynesians and Melanesians community in the world. To tell you the truth, we share so many things in common culturally. For instance, like hongi, which is the greetings, the traditional greetings of Maori people. They call it nose kissing, is actually happening, or we have it also in West Timor or Nusa Tenggara Timor. And if you look at the dances of Maluku, they are exactly the same with those in Samoa, in Tonga, and some other countries in the Pacific. Why they are the same? Because they belong from the same root, or from the same race. And from culinary, our people that live in the eastern part of Indonesia, it's exactly the same things which are eaten by the people in the Pacific. For instance, like sagu, sweet potatoes, taro or talas, breadfruit, jackfruit. And in terms of language, because we belong to Austronesians language group, we share so many words, and both pronunciations and meaning are which are exactly the same with some languages in the Pacific. For instance, when we say 5 in Indonesia is lima, in many countries in the Pacific, they also call it lima or rima. And langit, we call langit for the sky. In some countries like Samoa, Tonga, they call it rangi. And then when we say blue, which is biru, in some countries in the Pacific, they call it blue, they call it biru. So having this in our pockets, ladies and gentlemen, actually we have a great access to penetrate Pacific market, because unlike China and Australia and United States, which now become the three big powerhouses in the Pacific, we have something in common with most of the Pacific countries. And it should be translated into our ticket to penetrate into Pacific market. Next. Now, connecting the dots, what we have been doing, Mbak Laretna, for the last 5 years is how to connect our Pacific Indonesia with the rest of the Pacific. Like I said, we have we have facts that cannot be denied by anyone, which is geography and demography, that we are part of the Pacific. The job that we have been doing for the last 5 years is to connecting the dots. So the first thing that we did back in 2018 is organizing a concert. We call it the Symphony of Friendship, which is collaborations of musicians of New Zealand and Indonesia. It was a very unique concert and very much watched by the people and very much talked about by the people in New Zealand, because we were successfully combining the elements of music from the eastern part of Indonesia with the music from the Pacific. And we also successfully organized a Batik exhibition for the very first time in the Parliament building. And we were able to display about 100 batiks, which are the collections of batik collectors in Jakarta. And we were very proud and happy that we received such a great support from Jakarta for this, the first ever batik exhibition in the Parliament building. And lastly, 2 years ago, we managed to hold the first ever, the first biggest and comprehensive exhibition of trade, investment, and tourism in the Pacific, which we call Pacific Exposition. So Pacific Exposition until now is the biggest and the largest and the most comprehensive exhibition ever done in the Pacific, and it is initiated by Indonesia with the support from the government of New Zealand and Australia. It's a biannual event, so we did it for the first time in 2019, and this year we will do it again in October. Next. Now, I would like to discuss specifically, Mbak Laretna, about batik, because batik can connect Indonesia and the whole Pacific. Why I say that? Because batik is daily wear, both in Indonesia and in the Pacific. So if you go to the island countries like Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, Kiribati, Tuvalu, every day they wear batik. They don't call it batik, obviously, but what they wear every day is actually batik. So we have an entry to penetrate their market. And the patterns are more or less the same. Some of our batiks playing much in flower motifs, and this become a very popular motifs and well accepted in the Pacific. And our batik normally use dark theme or dark colors, except some batiks from certain areas in Indonesia, which portrays brighter colors. Now in the Pacific, all of the batiks are bright colors. They love bright colors. And batik in Indonesia is also official wear, and so is in the Pacific. So in the Pacific, like in the countries I mentioned, they wear short sleeve batik for daily wear, for work, but for official events, they use batik. Yeah, they use batik, but with the long sleeve. So again, if we take batik as a ticket to penetrate into the market, I think it will be very successful. economically and also culturally. Next. Now, talking about batik, Mbak Laretna, of course, we need events. From our observations, there are 3 big events which should be considered by Indonesia. The first is our own event, Pacific Exposition. This year, there will be a special segment for batik fashion show. So we are planning to invite some designers when the borders are open from Indonesia. If not, we will only invite their designs from Indonesia to be worn and to be designed by the local designers here in the Pacific. And this one-day fashion show, we plan to do it outdoor on the streets, will combine the work or the designs from Indonesian designers and the Pacifica or the Pacific designers using our own materials or their materials. And I think this is a big chance for us to introduce batik in a very informal mood. And there is an annual event which is a very international event, which is WOW. WOW means World of Wearable Art. Many times designers from Indonesia receive the utmost or the utmost trophies for their designs. I propose that Yogyakarta and Gianyar, to being the craft cities in Indonesia, organize a sister city program with some cities here in New Zealand. So talking about craft cities in New Zealand, we don't have as such like what we have in Indonesia, but there are plenty here. So I can see here there are more than 10 cities here in New Zealand, big and small, which can be considered as the craft centers or craft cities of New Zealand. Next. Now, we have a project for this year to present batik in a very international atmosphere with 3 reasons behind it. The first, we want to present batik and elegant with traditional ethnic touch, and the batik should be easy to design according to the local taste and standards, and versatile for any occasions. So these are the 3 key issues behind the success of batik if we want to penetrate the Pacific market. So they should be elegant, right? And then easy to design, and then they should be versatile. I mean, they can be used for many different occasions. Next. Now, we'd like to share with you our tips for well-received batik in the Pacific. Our motif should be adjusted according to the taste of the Pacific. The taste of the Pacific are first bright colors, and they prefer flowery motifs and not too many colors like our batik. So batik like indigo batik with only blue and light blue is well received here in the Pacific. So there should be color adjustment, and then promoting contemporary style and batik as everyday fashions. So if you can combine those 3 elements, I'm very optimistic that our batik can be well received here in the Pacific. Remember, Pacific is an untapped market. It's not a small market. If you combine Australia and New Zealand in it, then we are talking about a market of 40 million. That's not bad, okay, with good buying power, especially that happens to Australia and New Zealand. And this market has not been touched properly by Indonesian businessmen. And this is what we have been doing for the last 4 years, convincing our business people in Indonesia to tap into Pacific market. we have been absent in this market for so long time, and as a result, of course, China filled the market very successfully. So I think it's about the times now for Indonesia, with a lot of similarities that we have to tap into this market. Next. Now, if we want to be successful in tapping the Pacific market, not only for batik, there are 6 elements that we have to be taken care of. The first, the Pacific here, they demand high quality products that use high quality materials, especially when you want to tap into Australia and New Zealand. They are only dealing with good products. There is no place for bad products in the Pacific, especially Australia and New Zealand being the 2 largest markets. And then all the products that we produce should be environmentally friendly. So the process should be transparent. So the process should be environmentally friendly. This is very important. The third, when we get back to batik, if we want to be successful in this market, our batik should be designed by local designers because they know exactly what the market wants. So it can be batik, but when it comes into wear, the design should be pretty much different than what we have in our mind. But to me, it doesn't really matter. The most important thing that our batik is received and worn here in the Pacific. And then, if possible, we need a public figure to wear a batik wear. So having a public figure, for instance, from Samoa, Tonga, Samoa, and New Zealand, and wear our batik in important occasions will certainly elevate batik in a very fast way. Next, number 5, or the 5th element is suited to the Pacific market. Suited to the Pacific market means that we cannot force our batik to be received here, right? Because like I said, the motif, the colors that we have are very much different than what they demand. So coming back again to the topics that we said earlier, it should be done with the perspective of what the people want and designed by their designers. And the other one, sorry, Gara, the other one is what is the other one? It is close by. This is blocked by this. Okay, our batik should be available at the local stores, local boutiques here. So there should be cooperation between our side with the business communities here. So having our ready-to-wear batik in the shops or the boutiques will be very helpful in engaging our batik with the local community easily. Next. Now, don't look at me, but this is me wearing your batik. Okay, that is indigo.
It's our model.
Yeah, exactly.
Figure.
Exactly. I wear your batik and I make it into blazer, and then I wear it all over the places here in New Zealand because I cannot afford to pay models. So I make myself your own model. Right?
Thank you.
It's very well received. Yeah. So for the Pacific community, especially those in Australia and New Zealand, batik has become familiar sight in various occasions. Okay. However, growing fondness to wear batik has always been our focus in Wellington. Our continuing aspiration for innovative breakthrough to promote batik as a fashion choice for foreigners, especially in the Pacific. So the pictures that I present to you now are actually real. So the first picture here are the bule or the Kiwis, the New Zealanders, the New Zealand women, and they wear their batiks. They are so proudly, and then the batiks look really good at them, you know. And the second one here is the fashion show that we did some months ago. We used the local models and then wearing our batik, and again designed by local designer. And it happens the local designer is Indonesian. I think he's from Jogja, but he has lived here for many years. So he knows the taste of the local market. But yet, you know, the batik here looks very different and well received by the people here. Next. All right. Now, before I close, New Zealand has no craft cities like we do. Okay, we have Bali and then we have Gianyar. Here in New Zealand is a very small country. It's a country of 5 million, but it's a growing market for good quality products. There are more than 10 cities which I can call as the craft cities. And the products that they wear here are actually 3: weaving, carving, and then tamoko or tattooing. So weaving is very, very popular here among the Maori people, and also the carving. The carving, they are excellent in carving the bones, like what I wear now is the sperm whale bones. This is the gift from the king, one of the kings of Maori, and they are also good in carving the greenstone. The greenstone, which is the local stone, which is very precious. And also, of course, they are very good at carving the wood, just like our people in Bali and Jepara. The motifs are pretty much different, but then we can find similarities in the details. And another craft which is not popular in Indonesia is tattooing. Tattoo is very familiar here in the Pacific because it is regarded as the class in the society, and also this is a part of religion as well. So that's why most of the male and even women right now, especially the indigenous people Maori, most of them have tattooed in their body. Of course, it is not applicable in terms of cooperations with Indonesia. So that's all from me, but Lorena, I'm more than happy to receive questions from the floor. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Bapak Tantowi Yahya. That was open our eyes to see how huge of Pacific and how many islands there and how is many similarities with in Indonesia. And it's better to come up with a question and answer because I cannot make a resume for all of what we discussed today. But anyway, I do hope that that will be also question and answer, not only from the participant, but also from all the panelists, because each of you having very interesting topic in your presentations. Okay, silakan. And I will invite Tali Sif from Israel, that she mentioned about the presentations of all of you that broaden open her eyes. Tali, are you still there? No?
Yeah, now I'm not on mute.
Okay, yes, please.
Well, I would like to thank all the panelists for a real wide variety of views and analysis that we were able to share. When I came to participate in the Batik summer course, I was not fully aware of the wide angle of this topic, and it's very important for me. What I can express out of this afternoon, I'm a student in the university in Jerusalem, studying Indonesian studies. But I come from the tourism field. I've been working for the past 27 years in Indonesia as a tour guide, doing special cultural tours. bringing tourist groups and developing a special angle into the culture. So this whole topic is so relevant. And I have some points I would like to share with you. First of all, the pandemic, it's true that it affected a lot all the arts and crafts, but this is something that will end, hopefully soon, but it will end. But the decline of the crafts, like the decline of the Batik in Yogyakarta, has started before the pandemic. The pandemic is just escalating this process, maybe bringing it up to our focus. And when it is over, we're not going back to where we were. But this is a very good opportunity to see after the pandemic how we start a new process. This is actually an opportunity, the way I see it, to take it from this point on. And this is our responsibility, anyone involved in this, to really take active action and quick action, because when the pandemic is over, and it's not going to be rehabilitated in one day, it's going to be a process. So this is the time really to prepare the actions. All the outlines and the that were said today are really true and important, but this is an opportunity to really build the small committees in every place to implement it in a practical way. We don't have many opportunities to start from, it's almost start from the beginning of a process. And one more point I wanted to add, I see actually two main fields of dealing with this topic. One has to do with preserving the traditional styles and craft. This, in many ways, contradicts the commercial part. If we want to build a community, there is not much demand practically for all the traditional parts. There is more demand, like the ambassador talked about, to bring new ideas, new styles, innovate it, so make it practical, make it contemporary. So there is, in a way, a contradiction in the approaches, as I see, should be different. I think there is not much practicality in the traditional part, but this should be focused for heritage, cultural heritage, cooperation between universities dealing with art, between museums, national museums, textile museums, exhibitions, much more than there are now of really the traditional styles. This will forever remain the heritage of Yogyakarta, these traditional styles forever, but it has to be kept and seen and shared in other cultures. As at the same time, if you want to look at the community and how you keep it going on, because the tradition will not go on, it has to be preserved. But if you want to keep it on and use the traditional techniques and implement it in contemporary styles and commerce, and how to use the local community, which I do in my tours, how to take a local community and make it multi-purpose, using the crafts, using workshops, using the local people to see the local life and the village and the food and everything near the historical monuments, to make it a multifunctional visit of a tour. So these two approaches of keeping the traditional side in museums and universities as heritage and developing the commercial side of the community, these are two things if I'm looking at it from practical eyes. I learned this all from all the panelists today. It's been really eye-opening for me. Thank you all.
Thank you, Tali. Before I going to the panelists, I just want to remind that the first Professor Rahadi mentioned there are a lot of cooperations and partnership in the globe. And then Mr. Tang also mentioning regarding the importance of the transmissions to the young generations. And Edric showed us how is also the growing up of the world craft city in these regions, and the connections as well as the partnership already develops, and we need more and more. And Ibu Dayu mentioning regarding the importance to have the quality of craft, that in Bali, of course, the sustainability, including the eco-friendly, is part of the importance of the products in there. And His Excellency Tantowi Yahya mentioning about the we can say forgotten market. I'm sorry to say, but that is true, because now we have to open also our neighbors. That is something that huge potential things that we can develop in the regions, in these regions. So we have a lot of things to discuss today, but I would like also to the panelists, if you have something to focus, to reply, to respond. Pak Rahadi, plus monggo Professor Rahadi.
It is really interesting discussion, especially from Steli from Tel Aviv. I really agree with her. The problem after the pandemic is we are losing a lot of skilled people, especially in Batik. Maybe more than 60% of Batik workers, they are already not doing Batik anymore. They have another job. Even sometimes back to the old job. If you lose the skill, or if you don't use the skill in a disruptive way like this, within 1 year, you will lose all. Only not 20%, but almost 80% to 100%, their skill will be lost. So it is now the time really to take action how these skilled people or the Batik can get their job. Not losing their job on Batik to be just a normal trader or something like else, but back to Batik. I'm really worried because I have the experience. I work in the industry before. If you disturb all of the process of the skill, you will lose it. And you cannot recover anymore within short time. I agree fully with Mr. And the second is really, if in Pacific region, especially Pak Tantowi Yahya, if you don't have the craft city according to WCC, we can start with the sister city. Take a part of city, for instance, in Berlin, not the city Berlin, only part of city Berlin have the small region and district, they can cooperate with another city as a sister city. Maybe we can start with the Pacific area as a sister city, not really quote unquote the what is craft city according to WCC, but just a really sister city between one of city in Indonesia and another city somewhere in the Pacific or the New Zealand. I think that is two things I want to do, because I'm really very with Ms. Steli about the disruptive workers and in the craft, because besides the disruptive, the craftsmanship will be going down. You cannot reach again the real craftsmanship what they had before. And maybe the last one is I want to Pak Tantowi to be very clear. Are we using the words Batik on the same meaning? Because if we talk about the Batik, according to the here what we decide is the process. Is the very important is the process through using wax and also dye. I don't know whether we use the same meaning of the Batik, whether we understand the same thing. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Rahadi. Firstly,
Yeah.
Directly, Pak Tantowi,
Thank you.
please.
First of all, I would like to underline what was said by Pak Rahadi about his concerns of losing a lot of skilled people in batik work. And I think the concern is very well understood. As we understand, during the pandemic, most of the industries are hibernating, including the batik industry. The loss of the people who are engaged in this business is actually a loss to us as a country, which is well known as the origins and as a center of batik in the world. And regarding the word of batik in the Pacific, I fully understand. I fully understand what you said. That batik is only the process of making the design by using the wax and the chanting. This is called batik. But we don't have any other name to say the batik that we have to the world rather than saying it batik. And Alhamdulillah, Pak, it is well received that when it comes to batik, it's Indonesia. Batik is Indonesia. So despite of the effort of some other countries like Malaysia to also own batik, but happily speaking, that when it comes to batik, the imagination of the people in the world has always been to Indonesia. So the same concept is now being implemented in the Pacific, especially in New Zealand. So we have been doing this for the last 4 years on how to promote batik in many different ways, in many different styles. And the common steps that we are taking right now is like I just presented. So we did batik exhibitions in the prestigious buildings like the Parliament, so that it was attended by top ranking people, and also the people from the business community. And second, we are very active in motivating our designers here, both from Indonesia and from New Zealand, to use batik as their base of creativity. And Alhamdulillah, once again, Pak, you can see, I can send it to you, the pictures of how batik has been developed in such a way that it can be worn, it can be accepted by the market here in the Pacific.
Thank you. How about a sister city? Maybe you have to respond also, Pak Tantowi.
Actually, the big cities in New Zealand are very tired of the concept of sister city because most of them are not productive. So they become very choosy in selecting which cities to be selected as the partner in the sister city program. So unless we come up with brilliant ideas and it is promised to be productive, it's not easy anymore here in New Zealand to persuade cooperations in sister city scheme. But with batik, I'm still having confidence, Mbak Laretna, Pak Rahadi. With batik, I'm still very confident that we can establish a sister city program, not only with the cities in New Zealand, but also cities in Australia and island countries in the Pacific, like Samoa, like Tonga, like Fiji. I think they are still very welcome in establishing sister city cooperation with some cities in Indonesia.
Okay, thank you, terima kasih. Edric Ong, I saw you will say something, please. Edric Ong dari Kuching, Malaysia.
I am actually, you know, every time I hear the news, the news on markets and what's happening, business news, I hear that China is on the rebounds. that the economy is rebounding in China, and then the rest of the world will probably be starting. After that will be USA and all that. So I am actually very curious to find out whether as the markets come back, whether our craft cities do feel a difference. Like whether the people in Dongyang are people coming back to buy their wood carved furniture and wood carving? Are the people in Hoi An receiving more orders again for the stone carving? Are people going to buy more of the agate carving from the different craft cities that we have given recognition to? So that would be, in a way, a benchmark for us to look forward. Okay, so that's one thing that I'm interested to find out through our network. Secondly, the fact that there are no craft cities yet in the Pacific areas in Australia, New Zealand, is because some of our people have not been doing their work. Honestly speaking, if our appointed representatives there have not been actively chasing up cities or areas and getting them to make their applications and submissions, or even assisting them to submit, then they wouldn't even have heard about our program, correct?
Yeah.
So that's one of the points I think I need to take note and to remind some of my friends in the Pacific areas and tell them that my friend Bapak Tantowi says that they have not even heard about World Craft Cities in New Zealand, so they don't know what it is all about. Okay. The other point that I think that even as listening to Pak Rahadi and Dr. Nguyen, we're talking about maybe at least 4 Ps. First P is talking about partnerships. You know, when we're talking about cooperation, partnerships means partnerships within your country, partnership between your state, your region, and your federal government. If that is not working properly, then the system fails because the budgets will not come down and will not get allocated. So there's a lot of politics involved in that sense as well. The second is patronage. Patronage, the good patronage you have in the Sultan, in the Queen, in Yogyakarta, but whether there is sufficient patronage in other craft cities or craft areas or regions. Because if the patronage is strong, then they will really be very concerned that they're losing the craftspeople. They are not getting their assistance during the pandemic. They're not getting their packet of rice. They're not getting enough potatoes to eat. They're not getting cooking oil and all that. They're suffering. So that is something to also bear in mind. The third is promotions. People are not aware of what is happening. And I think that there are enough NGOs and concerned individuals and people out there in the world that would want to hear the stories of what's happening. If we are saying that Yogyakarta is losing 40% of its batikers, why are they losing it? The news is not getting out there. I'm not listening and I'm not knowing about it. All I know is from India that they are walking barefoot to go home from the cities. They're fleeing the cities, going back to the village. So if they're going back to the village, will they be taking up straw weaving, making mats? Or are they going back just to farming? Or would they take up a craft skill in a time when they are not working in the city? Is it worthwhile their time to make a straw mat? Then the next P I'm talking about is actually it should be M, but I'm putting it as P because we're talking about marketing, but I'm putting it as purchasing. Who is buying and who is buying what, where, and when, and for how much? So even at this time of pandemic or post-pandemic or during pandemic still, we hear from our fashion advisors or fashion forecasts and all that people, because they are locked up, they're not going to the office, they're not going to parties, they're not going on red carpets. So all those haute couture are not selling. My people, my friends in Sarawak, they have no weddings to go to because they are restricted on how many they can invite. So how many people, if it used to be a 5-day Malay wedding party, right, and you're invited to 5 days, you'll have 5 different kinds of baju kebaya to wear, but now you're invited to only one, right? And even in that one, there are only 30 people invited. So would you be spending a few thousand ringgit for an outfit? No, it's, yeah, only 30 people is going to see me wear this. Maybe I'll recycle an old dress from my cupboard and wear it again. So these are the things that we have to then be very sensitive to and what's happening. Okay, the other thing about promotion is that, as we say, we are all going digital. We don't have physical fashion shows and fashion weeks and promotions. So all of us are now taking part in International Digital Fashion Week, right? So maybe one of the ways in which we can do promotions through the Jogja Batik Biennale is to have a Jogja International Batik Digital Batik Fashion Week, right? So that there is still a momentum and publicity and promotion happening, that whilst they are not able to come physically to Jogja to buy your batik, there is an opportunity for them to see on the screen. And one thing good about seeing it on the screen on YouTube is that you can replay and replay and replay whenever you like. You can also pause and look more closely, which is one of the things I find, because I've been taking part in several international digital fashion weeks now, is that the beauty of it is that, right, you have a bigger audience. The beauty of it is that you can actually, if you are doing your video, have close up of your fabric, have close up of your jewelry, have close up of your shoes, your handbags, and so on and so forth. So we have to look at alternative manners in which we are able to do the marketing. So people can also be better able to purchase maybe online. Thank you.
Thank you, Edric. This is a proposed what we have to do in this kind of situations. And with his experience, like he just finished with so many digital fashion show, right? A couple of weeks ago or last week. Yeah, this is this experience that we have to follow and we have to prepare as well. And Pak Tantowi programs also will organize something in October, will be can be digital also. So
virtual,
so this our program as well on this a closing ceremony. If the program will be have the fashion show, digital fashion show as well. Any comment of this, please? Silakan dari Ibu Dayu, silakan.
Yeah.
Yes, from
on behalf of Ibu Dayu, allow me 2 minutes to say
please. Silakan.
Okay. The first one to Pak Tantowi. There is a request from Madam Mahayastra. Maybe after the pandemic is over, we would like to meet with you to seek for some possibilities for the Gianyar region having some kind of exhibition in the Pacific area in whatever place that you might suggest, because we have so many great kind of craft to share with local people, and also to exhibit our ikat kind of material. So we are very much looking forward if there is a chance for us from Gianyar to meet with you and to discuss about this idea. The second thing is that to respond to Mr. Ong's question about who's buying the craft and is the market still running? And I have to say in Bali, we have very different situations. As Mrs. Mahayasa just mentioned, that our craft originally from the functioning of the ritual. So no matter what, in this pandemic, we still run our ritual and we still need the craft for us to use. We all know that the pandemic somehow reduced the production, but the market itself still moving because the need of the ritual. Like nowadays, we are celebrating Galungan. It's a holiday, and all of the craft related to Galungan moving very, very well. So that help our craftsmen to do their activities, and we have no worry about losing the talent of our craft because they're still doing their things only for us in the local market, even though outside market is declining very significantly. I think that's thing I would like to respond on behalf of Madam Mahayasra. Thank you very much, Ibu.
Thank you, Madam Dayu dan Pak Dibya ya atau Pak Windya. Terima kasih, thank you. I think this is a real partnership. Connection will be then soon begin from Gianyar to New Zealand. Pak Tantowi, please.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to respond the request from Ibu Mahayasra. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for having an interest in the Pacific. Pacific is a very lucrative market. It consists of 20 countries, big and small. The countries here vary from a country of only 1,500 populations up to a big country, 8.5 million like Papua New Guinea. But then most of the countries in the Pacific rely their economy on tourism. So they suffer a lot right now because they close their borders. So there is no international tourists. They are very suffering, much suffering than we are right now. But we are very optimistic. Early next year, the borders will be reopened following the more friendly situations of COVID. That is the time when we expect the jump start of economy of all the countries here in the Pacific. If you look at the small island countries in the Pacific, they look small, but don't forget when I say Pacific, it includes Australia, a country with more than 30 million people, and New Zealand, a country with 5 million people, with, of course, a very strong buying power. I'm very interested in inviting Gianyar to participate in the coming Pacific Exposition on October this year. Yeah, in observance of the uncertainty of the borders reopening, so we have decided to do it virtually. So feel free to contact me. You can get my contact number from Mbak Laretna. We can avail you one booth so that Gianyar, being the craft city in Bali, can exhibit and can promote whatever you have so that you can attract potential buyers here in the Pacific. We do it in October in anticipations of the borders reopening early next year. That is the time when we expect everything will be back to normal, inshallah.
Okay, Edric, do you want to respond? Before I will
yes, say something first.
The chat, yes.
Okay, I just want to maybe add on to what Tali Tali was talking about, because you've been in tourism for over 20 years, right? So I can come back to the idea of how during this time of shutdown and not easy to travel, how we can use the digital platform like YouTube and all that to promote where our craft products are being made, the origin and the people who are actually behind the scenes of the product. Because many times people only see it in the shop when it reaches them, or in the shop in Jakarta or in Bali City, but they don't know what are the hands, whose hands have made them, and how long it takes to create and to make. Therefore, if you have more informative videos that is online and available to show what goes into a handmade, handcrafted wood carving, silver and all that, then people will be able to want to pay that price for the product. Now, coming back to our Digital Fashion Week, what we have managed to do, even some of my friends from Indonesia, Ibu Mira from Rumah Rakuji, and even from our friend from Kalimantan, is that in showcasing our fashion collection in the digital platform, it is shown in the background of, say, the Sarawak Cultural Village, or a historical site, or a longhouse, or something, so that it is also exposing the viewer online to where we are. So I can imagine how beautiful, for example, the Gallery Batik Jawa collection being shot at Borobudur, you know? People hear so much about it, but they don't see batik being paraded or shown, and maybe some of the designs are also associated with the motifs which are on the carvings of some of your monuments. So that is again a way in which we then subtly, you know, introduce the cultural monuments, the tourist attractions of your country, your community. For one, Sita, I have always been very impressed with the Imogiri, very naive kind of batik. And I always thought that that would be the most appropriate kind of batik if I were to create a collection for children. And in fact, I gifted my Swiss grandnephew one of the Imogiri animal motif batiks, you know, for his birthday recently. So there are some ways in which tourism comes into play with what we are doing in the world of crafts. We talk about cultural tourism, creative tourism, and so that's the other point I want to make. Thank you.
Okay. Before I read from the chat, Mr. Tang, do you want to say something?
Yes, thank you for really interesting discussions, and I agree with Dr. Ang that we have a new, pandemic actually, in fact, affects everyone. But I believe that throughout the past 2 years, handicraft communities find ways to be resilient and trying to adapt to new situations. And I don't think that the needs for the products or the needs for development increase. It should better have taken in the other way or another. What I mean is that the emergence of e-commerce. There are so many different agents or startups started their business in online sales. So I think that many communities, including the handicrafts and other industries, greatly benefit from those channels. So and also despite of the pandemic, visual or religious significance for many cultural traditions would never increase. I would say, and so so the needs is still there. They still have the customers, but the way how they purchase and how the products are delivered are the one big question, and how people adapted to the new situation. So I think that the pandemic may last longer, but it is not a long-term thing to say. But back to what I mentioned about in my presentation, there are fundamental and permanent, I think, challenges for handicrafts in general. Let me share my screen one more time to just to show my point that even in the you see on the right side is the a photo of one Western woman, and the other one is one of the obviously the Southeast Asian lady. So one case study in Laos recently, and it lasts for several years, but was discovered by our Laos handicraft. It's a center for ethnology in Laos, and the case is still on. So so these are fundamental challenges. For example, the violations. The one of these company in
is stop, Mr. Tang. Maybe the internet.
Yeah, he's frozen.
Yes, he is frozen.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think maybe we have to close already.
Yeah, we almost to
wrap up.
Almost, yes. Now I think, wait, okay. He's still, oh, he is gone. I do hope that he will come back before it is closed. And I just want to read some points from the floors from our participants. And first of all, is questioning, can they have all the presentation from you all?
Yes.
The panelists? It is okay? Yes. Okay, we will give it to you. And then they are very happy with this. And some comment from Ibu Anggi Bambang that there is an Indonesian corner at Auckland University to introduce batik. This is one comment. And also some Mariko Komeda from Tokyo, very instructive session. So the survival of crafts in only when there is a demand. So I think the comment from Ibu Dayu regarding in Bali, because all the craft is still used for daily life. So the demand is there. Although that pandemic, because with offering or the ceremony, they need the craft that produced by people itself. So Mariko interested in various ways of market creation, mentioning in the presentations. Yeah, this is make inspirations to many people. And then special thing from Yamano, Ibu Susi. She lives in Japan. Ibu Ida Ayu, your ikat is wonderful, and thank you for your presentation about Gianyar. So ikat is Ende, yeah. The name is Ende. Dr. Ong, ideas are very much welcome, very inspiring. Mr. Ong's ideas are very much welcome, very inspiring and encouraging. Thank you, Mr. Ong. Luar biasa. We do hope that the craft will be conserved and developed. Thank you very much for committee and all the panelists. Mugi Tanah Rahayu. And thank you very much. And we have to close our sessions. And once again, we are not finished here. And that's why I'm not making the conclusions, because we still have 4 more forums that we will also focus on the organic craft and cultural landscape, and then the role of the communities and sustainable developments, and how is intangible heritage and the sustainable development, and finally, heritage economy and promoting sustainable development. So there will be still 4 forums, and everybody are welcome. We will send to you all the invitations, and please have your time. And once again, on behalf of the Universitas Gadjah Mada, my gratitude to all of you, the panelists, Ibu Ratu Hemas, Pak Gatot Saptadi, and all the audience for today. Terima kasih. Sampai ketemu lagi. We will meet again.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Terima kasih sekali.
No, I have to break my fast.
Selamat buka puasa. So
Bye-bye.
please break yours.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you. Musiknya lupa.
Indonesia tanah air beta, pusaka abadi nan jaya. Indonesia sejak dulu kala selalu dipuja bangsa. Di sana tempat lahir beta, buai dibesarkan bunda, tempat berlindung di hari tua, sampai akhir menutup mata. Indonesia tanah air beta, pusaka abadi nan jaya. Indonesia sejak dulu kala selalu dipuja-puja bangsa. Di sana tempat lahir beta, dibuai dibesarkan bunda, tempat berlindung di hari tua, sampai akhir menutup mata.
Thank you very much.
Matur sangat nuwun.
Yeay, matur nuwun Bu Ale. Thank you Tania. Thank you Mr. Tan.